Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is Open Mic. You see, on the John Campea Show, every day from Monday through Friday, we save some time to take live questions. But here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do. Start to finish, just open, wide questions, whatever it is we want to talk about. Mostly focus, of course, on movies and a little bit of television, a little bit of sports here and there, too. But that's what we're here to do today, guys, just to hang out and talk about the things that we love the most. And I love these shows. I'm going to tell you what today, guys. Because it is Saturday, we're just going to go as long as there are questions to come in. If we hit the 3-hour mark, like we have a couple of times in the last little while, I might put the brakes on it or something like that. But we're just going to go and talk all day today because that's what the weekends are for, talking about our favorite things. All right, with that stuff down, let's get on now and move to the first bit of topics that are coming in here today. And we're going to get started with Damien, who writes, your favorite Fincher film? Mine is Zodiac. Zodiac's actually not one of my favorites. I like Zodiac. Don't get me wrong. I like Zodiac. Actually not one of my favorites. I'd have to say, and I know a lot of people say Seven, things like that. But honestly, I love Gone Girl. And his highly underrated version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I'm very rare. I prefer Fincher's version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo more than the original. So yeah, I'm going to say like two of my favorites. Now, of course, you've got with Brad Pitt, you got Fight Club. Obviously, that's a big one as well. But man, I really love Gone Girl. I really love Gone Girl. I think Gone Girl might be my favorite. Anyway, Damien also writes, I don't know why, but I love Batman Forever. Kilmer was a good Batman, very underrated. Hey, look, I think Kilmer was a good Batman too. And look, is it a cheesy mess of a movie? Yes. But it was also fun. And it was nowhere near as bad as Batman and Robin, which came later. I like Kilmer as Batman. I did. I liked him as Batman. And they did some things badly, yes, but I think there is some fun in that movie as well. I think there's some fun in that movie. Hold on a second here. You know what? That wasn't even at the beginning. That was further down. Now we go back to the beginning. So hopefully when we get to those questions again, I'll know how to skip it. Okay. Next up, Beast Gaming writes, who wins in a fight, John Wick or Jason Bourne? I don't think there's really much question to that. I'll go, well, here's the one question. If weapons are involved, John Wick. If it's straight hand-to-hand, I might say Jason Bourne. He's a bit bigger, a bit stronger. I might go Jason Bourne. If you put a big asterisk on this, say purely hand-to-hand combat, maybe Jason Bourne. But if weapons are involved, absolutely John Wick. ZMG Ruler writes, Endgame in trouble if Captain Marvel sucks and she's key? Nah, not at all. First of all, that is a huge stretch to go, okay, what if Captain Marvel sucks? Okay, so we're just supposed to assume that Kevin Feige all of a sudden forgot what he was doing? That Kevin Feige just doesn't know what he's doing right now? He doesn't know how to make movies anymore? All of a sudden, just like that, magically, he doesn't know what he's doing. But okay, let's play that game for a second. What if Captain Marvel sucks? Because hey, any film can suck, I guess. If Captain Marvel sucks, what does that do to Endgame? Nothing. Because it's not like, what it would be is a bump in the road. Where it could be problematic is if Infinity War sucked, and Black Panther sucked, and Ant-Man and the Wasp sucked. And by the way, all three of those are great. But if all three of those sucked, then you get into an accumulative effect, right? Where the consequences of the next film being bad become even worse. But right now, the MCU is on such a hot streak and has so much positive goodwill going towards it that even if Captain Marvel sucked, it would do nothing to Endgame. And by the way, well, then you go, but what if Captain Marvel's a key character in Endgame? So what? It's a different movie. It's a different movie. We've seen characters in bad movies, and then that same characters who were in a bad movie then be in a good movie. So it would really have nothing to do with it. And it's not like it would turn people off from going to see Endgame because it's an accumulative effect. Everything's been going so positive for Marvel that even if Captain Marvel is bad, even if, it ain't going to do anything to Endgame. Not a thing. Now, Marvel starts stringing together a couple of bad films in a row that the audiences don't like, the box office kind of struggles, the critics don't like. If they string together a couple of those in a row, then we could be getting in trouble. But right now, nothing. Even if Marvel sucked, nothing. But I don't know why we would ever guess that Kevin Feige all of a sudden forgot how to make a movie. I just don't think that's possible. Okay. Topher Rocks writes, "Hey, John, The Departed is one of my favorite films. I love The Departed. I think an overlooked performance in that was Frank's right hand, played by Ray Winstone. So intimidating. I haven't seen him in anything lately. You know what? When I think of Ray Winstone, what I think of is that 3D animated film, Beowulf. The Beowulf, because he was actually the lead voice. And I know it's weird to say that, but whenever I think of Ray Winstone, that's what I think of. But you raise up a good point. I don't think I've seen a lot of Ray Winstone much lately. Let me just bring up his IMDb page, because I like Ray Winstone. I like him a lot when he's in stuff. He's in King of Thieves. I'm not quite sure what that is. He's been in a TV series for the last couple of years called Ice, which I'm not familiar with. Might be a UK show. I'm not familiar with it. He was in Jawbone. Then he was in another TV series called Of Kings and Prophets. And then he was in a miniseries called Nightmare of the World H.G. Wells. This is going back to 2016. Then, of course, he was in Point Break, the 2015 version of Point Break. Yeah, it's been a while since he's been in anything like really notable. But first of all, Departed is awesome. It is a remake of my all-time favorite cop movie called Infernal Affairs. And Martin Scorsese basically did a direct recreation of it in the English language with a great cast. And it's a wonderful movie. Won Martin Scorsese his very first Best Director award, as a matter of fact. He had never won a Best Director Academy Award before The Departed. Departed also won Best Picture. And one of the great examples why sometimes reboots and remakes are awesome. The Departed is one great example of that. All right. Stubble McShave writes, "The Academy caved again. They're incompetent clowns." Well, here's the thing, Stubble. You remember the other day when Rob and I were both talking about the Academy and the getting rid of the cinematography from the live broadcast and stuff like that. We both said the Academy will cave here. There'll be some hesitation, but they will cave. Just like they caved on the best popular film category, which I'm so glad they did. They caved on this. Again, though, in their written response saying that, okay, we won't do that thing where we're not going to do the live announcing of the winners of cinematography and editing, blah, blah, blah. One of the things the Academy said, and this is problematic, they said, "We have listened to the concerns of our Academy membership and we are going back on this thing." My question is, why did you not ask your Academy membership before instituting this new rule in the first place? That's the part that really gets me, and that's the part that's frustrating. Backing down from this was the right thing to do, but they never should have been in this position in the first place. And seriously, the Academy needs an overhaul of its leadership. This has been a fiasco this year. From the controversy of the most popular film category, to their inability to get a host and the mess that's been created as a result of that, to the whole thing about we're not going to broadcast cinematography and editing. It's been one thing after another. This leadership needs to be replaced with new leadership. And I hope they do that soon. Anyway, Justin is a square. I like that name, writes, "What's up with Cinemia asking for ID verification?" I don't know. I still have a Cinemia card. But frankly, I haven't had the opportunity to use it at all lately. Because 99% of the time, I just go to my local AMC and I use my AMC A-list. If Cinemia is asking for ID, what that probably is for is to prevent abuse. It's probably to prevent you from using your Cinemia to buy tickets for other people to go use. Because that is a violation of the terms of service. And I've said this before with even with MoviePass, which I hated MoviePass. Pardon me. I hated MoviePass, but even when they were instituting things like checking ID, even for MoviePass, which I hated, I said, let's cut them a break when it comes to checking ID thing. That's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable. Just as a safeguard to make sure people aren't abusing the system. So I don't mind that. I don't think that's a completely unreasonable thing. And it's no skin off our nose. Oh, I got to pull out my ID. No skin off our nose. The only thing that it prevents is people from being able to abuse the system, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But again, I haven't used my Cinnamon in a while, just because I haven't had a need to. Richard Karate writes, they recast Dumbledore in Harry Potter. So, over under 30%, they recast Grindelwald for Fantastic Beasts 3 because of Johnny Depp problem at the moment. I'll take the under on that. I'm not going to say it's impossible. But Johnny Depp, look, I went in as skeptical as anybody else, but quite frankly, Johnny Depp was really good in that movie. He was really good in that movie. And I don't think that Johnny Depp's participation in the movie had anything to do with its a little bit underperforming. It's not like the movie flopped. It didn't. But, I mean, it underperformed expectations. Sure, it's fair to say that. But I honestly don't think Johnny Depp's involvement had anything to do with that, to be quite frank. And I'll go one step further. I thought Johnny Depp was the best part of that movie. So, while I do not think it's an impossibility that they recast him, because you can recast anybody, I think 30% is a little too high of a number, Richard. I'll take the under on that. Big Four Dam and Alfie Gamer writes, hey, John, watch The Kid That Would Be King yesterday. My son loved it. I thought it was a bit cheesy and not enough Patrick Stewart for my liking. Well, the movie is not there to serve the actor. The actor is there to serve the movie. If the movie only called for the character to be in so many scenes, then that's the way it is. You don't change it just because you have a certain actor. However, I'm speaking a little bit out of the left side of my ass because I haven't seen the movie. I never got around to watching it. And I never felt all that thrilled about it. But I did hear good things, Big Four. I've heard good things about it. The critic rating was much better than I thought it would be. I talked to a couple of people, some friends of mine that saw it, and they were surprised that they enjoyed it, they liked it. And at least your kid liked it, that's good. But, it is always good. The more Patrick Stewart you can put in something, the better. I mean, I think, right, we're all in agreement on that, yes. The more Patrick Stewart, the better. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to see, so I can't talk to it very much. But a bit cheesy, sure, maybe. But hey, as long as people are liking it, that's the important thing. All right. The Dawn writes, is it illegal to say what screening I saw? Not unless you signed something. Like if you went to a screening and it was explicit in the conditions that you went, you cannot tell people you saw this. Or you had to sign a non-disclosure. If you did that, yes, you cannot talk about what you went to go see. However, if that's not the case, then no, it's not illegal to say you were at something. Not at all. Not at all. Feel free to share it away unless you sign something or it was clearly communicated to you that in attending this screening, you cannot talk about this movie. If that's the case, then you shouldn't talk about it. But barring that, yeah, you're totally free to talk about whatever you saw. Boy Chow Sang writes, saw Alita last night with my buddy, and my buddy farted out loud in the middle of the film. It was very awkward. We liked the movie enough, 6.5 out of 10. I keep hearing good things. I wanted to go see it this morning. I had a meeting at 8:30 in the morning in Glendale, California this morning. And it was one of those breakfast meeting things. And I was planning on going from that to go see Alita, but then I had stuff here to get prepped for doing the live show today. So I haven't seen it yet. I may sneak out later tonight to go see it. I'm actually, Anne's doing assignments. So I'm going to check to see if Anne might want to sneak with me over to the movie theater to go see Alita. Although we both haven't seen Happy Death Day to You yet. And everybody is telling me that it's even better than the first. And I love the first Happy Death Day. So I might have a little bit of a Sophie's choice later tonight. Which movie do I go see? I'm going to be sitting there at the AMC going, do I go see Alita or do I go see Happy Death Day to You? Because I loved Happy Death Day. And like I said, I got a lot of friends telling me who have seen it already that they actually like it more. By the way, let me throw this out here right now. I went to go see Fighting with My Family last night. And Paige was there and Vince Vaughn was there. And I'll tell you what. I thought this movie looked kind of silly. This is a good movie. A little cheesy, yes. A little light, Yes. But this movie's got heart, and it's got laughs. And even if you are not a wrestling fan, I think you're going to appreciate and like, I think you're going to like Fighting with My Family. It was way better than I thought it would be. It was way better than I thought it would be. Because I think the last time I checked, I think they said Fighting with My Family. Let me double check right now. Fighting with My Family, Rotten Tomatoes. Let me just see what the last I heard was in the 90%. It's got 92% right now on Rotten Tomatoes. Fighting with My Family has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I thought, that's ridiculous. Why does this thing look silly? A movie about a wrestler, but it's so good. I'm really, really excited about it. I love seeing movies that I don't really give a lot of credit to, and then I watch it and go, wow. Fighting with My Family, tons of charm, tons of heart, some really good laughs in it. See Fighting with My Family. But anyway, I got to make sure I get out to see both Happy Death Day to You and Alita. Okay, Spencer Main writes, Alita Battle Angel is one of the most underrated movies I've ever seen. The action is amazing, and Alita is a great protagonist we need more of. Spencer then follows up with, the way you feel about Man of Steel is the way I thought about Alita. That's awesome, Spencer. Again, the one thing that dampens my enthusiasm about Alita a little bit is everybody who writes to me to tell me that they like the movie, they never say anything about the script, the story, the narrative, the character development, none of that. Everybody who writes to me to say that they like it is, the visuals and action are amazing, which is good enough to get me to like a movie. But I was hoping it might be more than that. And even you're like, the action was amazing. It's like, that's what I keep hearing. But nobody has written to me to say, John, this is a great story. I've not heard one person say that to me. I've not heard one person say to me, oh, like the narrative paths in this are so well constructed. I've never heard one person to me say, John, Alita, man, the character development and how the hero's journey in this movie that goes. I've not heard one person say that from people who love the movie. None of them. It's just everybody who likes the movie writes to me and goes, visuals, action, and that's it. So I'm not going to lie to you, that makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm still excited to see this film. Hopefully I'm going to crank that one out tonight and go check it out. But yeah, I mean, I'm hearing some people grumble about it a little bit, but I'm also hearing some people very, very excited about it, that they've seen it. So I got to get out there and finally watch it tonight. I hope I can get out there and do that. All right. Stubble McShave writes, Good Omens opening sequence looks like a cross between Tim Burton and Monty Python, looks bonkers in all the right way. Good Omens. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what that is off the top of my head. Hold a second. Good Omens. Oh, it's a Prime. One of the shows on Prime. AMC Prime. I know nothing about it. Other than Frances McDormand's in it and Michael Sheen's in it. I mean, that's David Tennant? What? What the hell? Really? A Tale of the Bungling of Armageddon features an angel, a demon, 11-year-old Antichrist, and a doomsaying witch. Okay, that sounds intriguing. I know nothing about it, though. That sounds neat. So it's an AMC Prime original. I might have to go check that out. I might have to at least go find a trailer to that and watch that, Stubble. Thanks for putting that on my radar, man. All right. Chris Torres writes, Hey, John, hope you're having a great day and chat. I am having a great day. I had a terrific meeting this morning. My dogs aren't always here. Sometimes I split time between here and Anne's mom's place in Corona. But the dogs have been here. Anne and I had a good morning, and then I had my meeting, and now we're here doing open mic. So I've had a great day so far. Thanks for asking, Chris. All right. Richard Karate writes, Do you think Marvel will carry on with the current MCU and will include X-Men and Fantastic Four, but will put Deadpool in an R-rated universe and include Daredevil, Punisher, Blade, and so on in their R-rated universe? See, I'm not sure. First of all, I still think there is a chance they don't fold the X-Men into the MCU. Now, Marvel has hinted that that is what they're going to do. And if I had to put $5 on, I would say, yeah, they're probably going to put the X-Men in the MCU. I don't think they should, but I think that's what they're going to do. It looks like that's what they're going to do. But I still think there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. I still think there is a chance that Marvel keeps X-Men separate. It's a small chance. It's a finite chance, but I'm still holding out hope that there's a chance. Although, like I said, they are most likely just going to put them in the MCU. Now, with Deadpool, what we know right now is that Bob Iger has said he intends to do more R-rated Deadpool, but not under the Marvel banner, as to not confuse audiences about what is safe to bring your kids to and not, because Disney's got to be very careful with that, right? I think we can all appreciate that. The question becomes, does Deadpool then inhabit a secondary universe with other characters, or is it a standalone franchise? On that topic, we have seen no indication from Marvel which way they're going to go. Will they do Daredevil? And by the way, the Daredevil won't be the one from Netflix. It'll be a new incarnation of Daredevil. Will they do Ghost Rider? Unlikely. They got Ghost Rider going in their Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe right now. Will they do Punisher? Maybe. So that's the thing. Do they create just a second universe that can inhabit all of their R-rated characters? Or do they just have a separate banner where standalone R-rated characters can have standalone movies? I don't know. I suspect, and I'm only saying suspect, I have no insider knowledge on this, okay? I'm just guessing, just thin air guessing. My guess is that they will set up a new banner for R-rated films to be standalone films and not create another big shared universe. And before everybody gets upset about that, not every fucking thing has to be shared fucking universe. It's okay to have standalone movies, okay? It's okay to have standalone characters in their own standalone universe, right? Christopher Nolan did it pretty damn well with Batman. Sam Raimi did it pretty well, at least 2 out of his 3 Spider-Man movies. Christopher Reeve did just fine not being in a shared cinematic universe, you know? It's okay to have a couple of films that are standalone franchises and then a bunch of stuff in one big collective shared cinematic universe. Now, Marvel may very well create MCU Prime with all the Avengers stuff going on, and then MCU R, where all the R-rated characters can be in a completely different universe. Sure, but my suspicion, and again, it's just a suspicion, it's just a guess, is that they will fold X-Men and Fantastic Four into the MCU and continue their big shared cinematic universe, and then have a banner under which a bunch of standalone franchises operate under a banner, but not in a shared cinematic universe. That's my guess. Maybe I'm wrong. Seems like the smart thing to do, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, good question, Richard. All right, Luke1234 writes, you have said you no longer buy physical media. That is true. So then what did you do with your collection? Buy all over again or do some kind of DVD to digital transfer? I moved years ago, like over 10 years ago. I never bought a movie without creating a digital copy on my computer because I bought that movie. It's mine. Okay, so I can't share it. I can't spread it around, but it's mine. And if I want to watch it on my computer, I want to be able to watch it on my computer, blah, blah, blah. To this day, most of my DVD collection and the few Blu-rays I have, most of them are still up in Canada. Most of them are still packed in boxes up in Canada somewhere in my parents' garage. So that's where a lot of them are. So yeah, and then there's certain movies that I absolutely repurchased again. All the Star Wars movies I repurchased in digital. I purchased them all again. And I'll purchase them all again if I want to because it's Star Wars. I will, Lord of the Rings, I repurchased again. But a lot of the movies that I have, I just, I have them in a digital format on some hard drive somewhere. And if I want to watch them, I can just watch them that way. So that's what I did. Otherwise, most of my discs, I either I gave away some, I sold some, but most of my discs I still have packed in boxes up in Canada. Okay, Taki75 writes, best Tim Burton movie, Ed Wood. I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. Which a lot of people look at me like, what? What? I didn't know you weren't allowed to be a Tim Burton fan. Yeah, I'm actually not a Tim Burton fan. But I will say this, and this always like just makes people shake their head, because I actually think my favorite Tim Burton movie is a movie that even Tim Burton fans don't like. I liked his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I liked his Willy Wonka movie. I did. And it's funny because even most Tim Burton fans don't like that one. I did. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any other Tim Burton films that I like. Clearly they are. There are a couple of films that I like. Overall, I'm not a big fan of his style and his approach to films, and that's fine. I will say this, though. Dumbo looks pretty damn good. Damn good. So that's my favorite at any rate. Spencer Main writes, also, I just watched my favorite movie, Forrest Gump, last night. The last 30 minutes of that movie were the best 30 minutes in anything ever. Well, I disagree. But look, there is no denying all films subjective, of course. But I mean, it's like there's no denying. Forrest Gump is fantastic. It's a fantastic movie. I believe Tom Hanks won Best Actor for that. It won Best Picture. It shouldn't have won Best Picture. What should have won Best Picture that year, that almost everybody agrees with now, is Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank Redemption is one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. It should have won Best Picture that year. But notwithstanding that, Forrest Gump is great. And while I do not believe, personally, that the last 30 minutes of Forrest Gump were the best 30 minutes in anything ever, I do not believe that. They are damn good. They're damn good. And I'm not just saying that because Anne will kill me if I say anything disparaging about Tom Hanks. I really mean it. It is damn good. And not my favorite, but hell of a movie. And it's really stood the test of time. Really has to, as has Shawshank Redemption. All right, next up. Jonathan Teft writes, what chance does Hellboy have of succeeding? I'm not hearing many people reacting positively to the trailer, and it comes out 1 week after Shazam and 2 weeks before Avengers. It depends on your definition of success, right? Can it be profitable? Yeah, because they didn't spend $200 million on this movie, right? And by the way, I'm somebody that I liked the trailer. It was weird. It was not what I was expecting. I was expecting something completely different, but I dug what they did. Like once I got over my surprise and once I got over my shock about how different the trailer looked compared to what I was expecting from an upcoming Hellboy trailer, once I got over that, and I think Rob actually agreed with me, once we got over that and just took the trailer for what it was, it's like, this could be pretty good. This could be pretty good. Now remember, Mike Mignola's attached to it again, the creator of Hellboy, all that kind of stuff. It is in a little bit of a thicket. Shazam's going to be pretty big. I don't think $1 billion big, but it's going to be pretty big. I cannot wait to see Shazam. Oh my God, that just looks better and better all the time. And I'm not worried about Avengers. Hellboy will find its own audience. I will say this. I will give Hellboy a straight up 50% chance to be profitable. I don't think it'll be a giant flop. Even if it loses some money, I don't think it'll be a giant flop because they've managed their budget on it pretty well. They've managed the budget pretty well. So I don't think it's going to be like a giant flop by any stretch of the imagination, but I will give it a straight 50% chance to be profitable. So that's how I'm seeing it right now. Keeping my fingers crossed. I want a good Hellboy movie. I mean, but what a great window. Let's hope that Hellboy's good, because if Hellboy's good, right? Think about this. In the span of 4 weeks, we will see Shazam, Hellboy, and Avengers Infinity War. And oh my God, if they can all be good, what a stretch of movies. I'm getting happy just thinking. I'm feeling joy washing over me like the mighty Niagara Falls coming to just think about. Imagine if Shazam is as good as it looks. And imagine if Hellboy can be good. And imagine if Infinity War is even half as good as we're hoping it will be. What a stretch of a few weeks for us like genre fans. I'm getting giddy. Goosebumps, ladies and gentlemen. The hair standing up on the arm. You can see it. Goosebumps. I'm just feeling this big wave of happiness right now, even just thinking about it. Okay. Ben Sultan writes, hi, Jackman. I'm guessing you meant Hugh. Hugh Jackman says, interview MTV. Hugh Jackman interview MTV that Kevin Feige is going do great jobs. Also, that time he was auditioning for role of Wolverine, that one time he pick him up, give him advice to get role. Okay, I'm just gonna guess, Ben, English is not your first language, and oh my God, if it's not, you speak English probably 10 times better than I can speak whatever your native language is. So good job, man. Okay. If what you're saying is Hugh Jackman thinks Kevin Feige is going to do a great job, sure. Yes, absolutely. Obviously, look, I didn't want Marvel to get Fox. I wanted Comcast to get Fox because it would keep the X-Men in a separate universe. I believe that is what is best for the X-Men. But I have no doubt that Kevin Feige will do a great job with them. No doubt. He's Kevin Feige. He will do a great job. Again, I just always lament that if the X-Men had been under Disney this whole time, at least 3 or 4 of my top 10 favorite comic book movies of all time would have never existed. X-Men Days of Future Past would have never existed. Logan never would have been made. Deadpool never would have been made. Deadpool 2 certainly never would have been made. I mean, sure, they're saying we'll do it now because Fox actually did it and showed it can work. But if those characters had been under Disney, never would have happened. And that's what I love. I love that Fox could make different kinds of comic book films from what Marvel is doing. And I love what Marvel's doing. But to have a studio doing something different, I think is good. So I'm not super thrilled. I'm not super stoked that the X-Men are coming into the MCU. But I have no doubt Feige will do a great job. And yeah, Kevin Feige used to be an assistant, man. He used to be a production, an associate sort of thing. And I think he was in that, connected to that first X-Men movie and might have given Hugh Jackman some tips in getting the gig, which is pretty fun if that's the case, man. That's pretty fun. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Ben. Ben follows up with X-Men franchises, what is Static Shock? I never hear about the character before. Okay, well, first of all, the character's name isn't Static Shock. The character's name is actually just Static. But a lot of his titles have been Static Shock. Anyway, he's not an X-Men character. Static is actually a DC character. He's in the DC world, not in the Marvel world. Static is an interesting thing. So there was this other publication. I don't know a lot about Milestone, but they had a couple of cool characters, and Static was a character under Milestone that later they then enveloped it and just kind of brought it in. They used one of the Crisis events to bring him into the main world. And then Static was he was in Teen Titans for a while. Then his title got canceled. Then when the New 52, DC's New 52 started up, Static was one of the New 52, but it only lasted 8 issues and then got canceled. Then they made him have an appearance in the new Teen Titans and then just disappeared and then hasn't been around since. So, I mean, I know, but there have been a lot of people that have been saying they'd love to see a Static Shock movie, which, I mean, I just don't know. Static Shock, he's a little bit of Magneto, a little bit of Black Lightning. One of the cool things about Static Shock is they really dealt with, especially for DC titles, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, but early on in Static Shock, like in the 90s, they were dealing with heavier issues that teens may be facing that a lot of comics weren't addressing. I remember there was this one storyline where it's like they were dealing with an issue that Static had a gay friend in school who was getting physically abused in school because he was gay. And it's pretty heavy, and and they would address stuff like that, right? So anyway, yes, not a Marvel character, not an X-Men character. I highly encourage you, jump on Google, search some stuff out about Static. He also had a short-lived television series. Yeah, go check it out. Static, also known as Static Shock. All right. So next up, where do we go? Mike Hill. Mike Hill writes, something I've always wondered, Yoda versus Darth Vader, who wins? Most powerful Jedi versus most powerful Sith would be something to see. I think it would all depend, and again, this is all theoretical. All theoretical. I should lean this way. My Star Wars, where's this way? This way. My Star Wars West End game D6 role-playing game book to look up character stats to see what they say. But my guess, if you want to talk Yoda versus Vader, it would all depend on when. When does that fight happen? Does that fight happen when he's still Anakin Skywalker? Does the fight happen during the first year or two after he has become Darth Vader? Does it happen more towards the era of Return of the Jedi? Does it happen somewhere in between there? I believe that the answer of who wins in a fight between Yoda and Vader all completely depends on when you're asking when the fight happens. If the fight happens while he's still Anakin, Yoda wins the fight, I believe. If the fight happens in the first year or two of Vader turning into Vader, I believe Yoda wins that fight. If you're talking about in the era of Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back, like let's say we get to Empire Strikes Back, Luke travels to Dagobah. Luke leaves Hoth and travels to Dagobah. Vader puts a tracker on his X-Wing though and follows him to Dagobah, shows up in the swamp, and he confronts Yoda. Vader kicks Yoda's ass. Vader completely kicks Yoda's ass in that timeline. But yeah, again, I think it all comes down to when does the fight happen? Ram Arama 30 writes, what are your expectations post Avengers 4? None. I have no expectations. I have none. I do not want to be one of these guys because I've been guilty of this in the past and I don't want to do this anymore. And I try to encourage my fellow film fans not to do this either, but it's tough. I have been guilty in the past of constructing in my head what I want to have happen in this coming movie. And if it doesn't do what I preconceived, then I don't like it, you know? And I think a lot of film fans do that. I've done it. You've done it too. It's something we as film fans do and we should not do. So what I have been trying to do lately is not to make any preconceived constructions about what I think must happen in this movie. Because I've done that a lot, and it's set me up for disappointment when I shouldn't have been disappointed, you know? So I honestly have no expectations. My one expectation is that following Avengers 4, also known as Avengers Endgame, is we're going to get a Spider-Man movie called Spider-Man Far From Home. That's as far as my expectations go. We know we're getting Doctor Strange 2. We know we're getting Black Panther 2. That's all up and running. They've already signed the directors for both of those. But other than that, who knows? I mean, we've all got 1,000 theories about Avengers Endgame. But I think Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers are about to hit us with some stuff in Endgame that we didn't see coming. That will shatter all expectations we have about what happens in the MCU after Avengers 4. I think we're about to have our expectations shattered. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Magic K writes, game recommendation, Devotion, an indie game developed by a Taiwan independent game company called Red Candle Games. It will release next Monday. It's about solving a mystery inside an old house. Woo! I'm not going to lie to you. That sounds pretty good. Hold on a second. Devotion game. Let me see. Devotion game. Let me just take a quick peek at this. Because I'm looking for... Ooh. Oh, crap. That looks creepy. Okay, you got me. You got me. I'm going to try it. Devotion is a first-person horror game which takes place in an abandoned hotel that now houses the members of a cult. Ooh. You control Amanda, a girl whose father owned the hotel before disappearing mysteriously 5 years ago in agony. She remained tough. She remained through all the years, wondering if he was still in the land of the living. Okay, man. Well, you know what? It actually looks like you can download the game now. It looks like you can actually download the game now. It's called, maybe this is a different game because this one's something called Dead Bite Studios. Let me check. Maybe that's a different Devotion game. Devotion. What's the name of the company? Called Red Candle Games. Let's see this one. Devotion, Red Candle Games. Oh, this is a completely different one. That other Devotion one looked pretty good too, but this is a completely different one. And their website sucks because it's taking way too long to load. Anyway, I'll tell you what. I will keep my eye open that for Magic K because I like doing my play-in chats, even though I suck at games. By the way, I've been playing Apex Legends. Now, if you saw me play Fortnite, okay, and if you thought I sucked at playing Fortnite, you ain't seen nothing. You don't know what suck is until you've seen me play Apex Legends. I suck at that. I think I've played the game like 6 times now. I don't have a single kill. The most I have on my stat sheet is that I've caused some damage. Like I've shot a few people and caused some damage, but I haven't killed a single person. I haven't won a single freaking thing. I suck at that game. So I was thinking about streaming me playing Apex Legends, but I'm so bad at it. I don't think I want to do that unless I just want to open up, hey, say, you guys, you want to have a good laugh? You guys want to have a good laugh? Come watch me try to play Apex Legends. Come and watch me try to play Apex. That'll give you a good chuckle. Maybe I'll do that. But I'm looking for some more games that I can. By the way, I think later tonight, I think I'm going to, crack open Spider-Man again. And because I haven't played Spider-Man since before Christmas. So it's been a while. I might crack open Spider-Man, do a little play and chat. And you can watch me suck at that game too. Man, you know what? You might find this hard to believe. There was a time that I was really good at video games. Like whether I was playing Unreal Tournament, I'm still pretty good at World of Warcraft, but I was great at StarCraft. I kicked ass at StarCraft 2. I kicked all sorts of ass in those games, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. It's like once I turned 40, it's like my genetics said, oh, you're 40 now. You have to suck at all video games now. And like my genes kicked in and it's just I suck at all video games now. I see other guys over 40 who play video games and they're awesome at it. Not me. My genes kicked in and said, oh, you're 40 now. You suck. And now I suck at everything. It's frustrating because I love playing video games too. And I like so utterly suck at them. It's entertaining watching how bad I am at these things. Anyway, but thank you for that recommendation, Magic K. I've got the Red Candle games. This Devotion game now, because there was another Devotion game that also looked pretty creepy. I will check this one out. Thanks for the recommendation, Magic K. Okay. Matt Thornton writes, who would you say is your favorite villain actor? In my opinion, no one is more entertaining than Tim Curry. Tim Curry was great. Why did I suddenly freeze on the actor's name? He was in Harry Potter. He's in Die Hard. He is Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman is one of the great villain actors ever. Whether you're talking about Snape, who actually ended up being a heroic character, or you're talking about Hans Gruber, that besides Lord Vader himself, Hans Gruber may be the greatest movie villain of all time. Whether you're talking about the great Sheriff of Nottingham that he played in Kevin Costner's Robin Hood. I'll cut your heart out with a spoon. Why a spoon, cousin? Because it doesn't, it hurts more. You, my room, 8 o'clock. You, 8:30, and bring a friend. I mean, that Alan Rickman was so freaking good. But he was great in everything. I mean, I think he got nominated for this movie called Truly, Madly, Deeply, which is insanely good that he was so good in. He was amazing in Galaxy Quest. By Gabthor's hammer, I shall avenge thee. I mean, he was just the man. But simply that he played Snape, Hans Gruber, and the Sheriff of Nottingham, it's hard for me not to say Alan Rickman. Tim Curry's great. You can't overstate the greatness of Tim Curry, but I'm going to go Alan Rickman on that. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, Read any Brian J. Jones. Awesome biographies of creative geniuses, including George Lucas and Jim Henson. Clearly from a big fan. Honestly, I don't know if he's the guy who wrote. Let me just look this up here a second. I don't often remember the names of authors. Not often, at any rate. Okay, no, he's not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of somebody else. No, I have seen a couple of his covers of his books, but I've never actually read any of those things. But it's always good to put those on your radar. That Jim Henson one looks pretty cool. The Jim Henson, the biography. That looks neat. Jim Henson was fascinating to me. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, Tag, Game Light, blah, 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 blah. Let me try that again. Tag, Game Night, Overlord, A Simple Favor, and Upgrade. Not the best movies of the last year, but certainly some of the easiest to recommend for anyone wanting some good entertainment for a couple of hours. It's, okay, listen, I'm glad you brought this up, Jonathan, because this is, I think, kind of key. Every year, we'll have a couple of big highlight, amazing, we'll remember these movies forever kind of movies. Every year we'll have a couple of those, right? What I think truly makes a year in movies a truly great year is not how many of those big top shelf, oh, these could be award contenders and we'll talk about these movies forever. To me, that's not what makes a movie, or that's not what makes a year a great year in the movies. To me, what kind of distinguishes a great year in the movies are the second tier movies that are, how many of those second tier movies that were really, really good? Maybe not awards worthy, maybe not, oh my God, we have to watch this movie once a year, every year for the rest of our lives. Maybe nothing like that. But that second tier of just movies that we saw and just really, really enjoyed. And I'll tell you what, 2018 had a lot of those. Not the least of which were movies like Tag, which had way more heart than I thought it would. I really enjoyed Tag. Game Night, which I thought was the comedy of the year. I thought Game Night was the best comedy of the year. Straight up comedy. Like, you know, Deadpool 2, that's a comic book action comedy, but Game Night, straight up comedy. My favorite straight up comedy of the year. Overlord, I had a good time with Overlord. I had a really good time. Simple Favor was brilliant. Simple Favor was brilliant. Upgrade, fantastic. And really, that was what made 2018 such a good year for me when I think about the year in movies, because of, yes, a couple of really good upper echelon films, Infinity War, things like that, A Quiet Place. But it's that second tier to me that was really packed. There were just so many really solid, good, enjoyable films on that second tier that just fleshed out the whole year and made it a really enjoyable year at the movies for somebody like me at any rate. Now, maybe you don't agree and maybe you didn't have as many of those films up there as I do, but it made it a really good year for me. So thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan. All right, let's move on here. Ram Arma 30 writes, out of all the horror movies in 2019, which are you most interested in and which do you believe will deliver the best? I mean, I don't know. You've got to give me more than that. You got to give me a list of things. Hold on a second. Horror movies, 2019. I mean, obviously we got things like It Chapter 2 is coming out. We got Pet Sematary coming out, which all looks really good. Well, some people are lifting, Us. Us looks really good. Boy, and the Curse of, I always mispronounce this, The Curse of La Llorona, that is looking better and better. I'm liking the look of that. What are some other ones? Oh, Dr. Sleep. That's another one. Ewan McGregor starring in Dr. Sleep, the kind of sequel to The Shining. That looks pretty good too. The one I think I'm looking forward to the most, you know, I wouldn't have said this a long time ago, but it's probably Pet Sematary. I'm probably looking forward to Pet Sematary more than It. The trailers for Pet Sematary have, and look, I didn't even think they should make a remake of Pet Sematary. Not because I'm against remakes, but because I'm like, really? You want to remake that? That's what you want to remake? And then the trailers have blown me away. I have loved the trailers. Now, I'm really looking forward to It. I'm looking forward to La Llorona. Some people are listing Happy Death Day to You. I don't count that as a horror. The Prodigy actually looks pretty good too. Oh, another one I'm super looking forward to is Brightburn. The kind of twist on the Superman mythology, produced by James Gunn. Ooh, that looks really good. But for now, I'll say Pet Sematary. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most. Okay. Nicholas Slim writes, where is the hype for The Irishman? I don't see it on any most anticipated list of 2019. Is due to being Netflix film or a CGI gamble. I think it more has to do with it being a Netflix film. Because, I mean, look, all the other studios took a pass on it. The other studios didn't want to touch it. That doesn't mean the movie wasn't going to be good. All that really means is that, and I don't know, maybe the studios didn't think the script was any good, maybe, but I think the reason that the studios passed on it is because they didn't believe it could make any money. And I don't blame them. Because if you go back, hold on a second, what was the name of that damn Robert De Niro and Al Pacino movies? What was the one that had Curtis 50 Cent Jackson in it with them? Righteous Kill. Righteous Kill. So we've had a movie with De Niro and Pacino in it together before. It's called Righteous Kill. Now you can say Heat, but really they had one real scene together in that movie. The rest of the movie they're not even in it together. And Heat was great, obviously. But then they made a movie called Righteous Kill, and it sucked so bad. And everybody was so excited about it. Pacino and De Niro are making a film together, and they're cops, and it's going to be awesome. And it was so bad. So bad. And didn't do well. And it's not like Pacino blows up the box office. It's not like De Niro blows up the box office either. And it's not like the type of movie that's going to blow up the box office. So, yeah, maybe the studios took a pass on it just because they didn't think it could make money. Doesn't mean, hey, you know what? Roma wasn't going to make any money in the theaters either. Roma wouldn't have made any money. But on Netflix, fine. There it can go and be nominated for Best Picture. Maybe Irishman is like that as well, but I think it's just one of the things keeping people from getting too excited, including me, is the fact that I know that it just ended up on Netflix because everybody else took a pass on it. Nobody else wanted it. So, and when De Niro and Pacino did make a film together before, it was terrible. Granted, it wasn't directed by Martin Scorsese, so that's different. So, for me, any film that Martin Scorsese is making, you got to give the benefit of the doubt. And that is balanced out with the fact that, I'm kind of iffy because so many people passed on. So I don't know. I don't feel a lot of buzz for it. I don't feel a lot of hype for it. I don't personally feel a lot of enthusiasm for it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. And we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it'll be as great as a Martin Scorsese movie can be, and it doesn't end up being another Righteous Kill. So keeping our fingers crossed. But I believe that's why you're not hearing a lot of buzz for it right now. I think everybody's just being very cautious about their optimism when it comes to Irishman right now. And I believe that caution is warranted. And now look, maybe the movie gets released and we all love it. Awesome. But for now, I think it's justified to be a little bit cautious with our optimism. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, somehow Hug Your Daughter is the scariest movie line in years. Yeah, from the Pet Sematary trailer. Oh my God. Yeah. Like if you were to say to me, hug your daughter, and if I'd never seen the trailer, hug your daughter is going to be a scary, scary, scary line. And I had never seen the trailer, I'd be like, hug your daughter? What are you talking about? In the Pet Sematary trailer though, woo, it's freaky. Hug your daughter. This little demon from hell that wants to murder me. Yeah, hug that. Oh, looks so good, Ryan. Looks so good. Okay. Richard Karate writes, my friends call me crazy, but I kind of like Val Kilmer's Batman. Pity he never done more. I mentioned it myself. I like Val Kilmer's Batman too. I understand why he didn't, and I get why they moved on, and they were able to get the Clooney monster. They got George Clooney in there. It was when Batman was this rotating thing. It was a Hollywood thing, but I would have been curious to see more Val Kilmer Batman. I thought he was a decent Batman. My top two? No, not my top two, but I thought he was a decent Batman. I'm with you on that. Roma 30 writes, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that differently every single time. Which franchise do you foresee dominating the 2020 year between Marvel, DC, and Star Wars? By then, it'll be in a post-Avengers, post-Star Wars saga. I don't know, because it's hard to say. I mean, look, from where we're standing right now, in February of 2019, you got to say Marvel, because Marvel is dominating everything, right? So you got to say Marvel. Right now, there are no Star Wars films coming out. There's no Star Wars films coming out. We got some TV projects, but we got no Star Wars films coming out in 2020. So, simply because of the domination of the movie landscape, and I believe DC only has one. Oh, what else is coming out for DC in 2020? It was just Wonder Woman, but now there's more. At any rate, I got to say Marvel. Until something jumps up and takes that title away from Marvel, I got to say Marvel. So that's what I'm going to say for now. Let's see. Connor Diaz writes, love your show. Thank you so much, Connor. You inspired me to start my own reviewing site, and I just got invited to my first press screening. Super excited. Hope you're doing well. Well, that is awesome. I think... Look, I've been saying this for a long time. I've been preaching this for a long time. I do everything that I can do to try to help and equip people who want to start their own things about movie commentary, movie reviewing, stuff like that, because I believe we need more voices online. We need more voices online. Doesn't mean you're going to be big. Doesn't mean you're going to have any more than 20 viewers or whatever, but who cares? Add your voice to the conversation. And that's why I put together videos to try to teach you guys how to do more stuff, because I believe we need more voices to drown out the stupid ones. I think we need more voices online. So I think that's awesome. Congratulations, man. And I hope you're having fun doing it. Remember, that's the most important thing. Make sure you have fun doing it. All right. Richard Karate writes, best actor who's never been a leading man. I don't know. I mean, almost anybody, if you go back enough, you can find them being a leading man. So I don't know. That's something I'd have to think about, Richard. That's something I'd have to think about. It's not something I just can think of off the top of my head. You know what I'm saying? Zach Carper writes, I'm hoping that John Krasinski joins the MCU or / DCEU. I don't know. The MCU and DCU have lots of great directors. If he does, cool. If not, fine. That means he's making other great films. Personally, I don't want to see, as much as I love my comic book genre movies, I don't want to see every actor getting their time tied up in comic book movies only. We have lots of great directors doing lots of great things in comic book genre. I'd really kind of rather see, look, we've got an embarrassment of riches in the comic book genre right now. I'd rather see John Krasinski stay outside of it and make great movies that aren't comic book genre movies. Because we're getting lots of great comic book genre movies. It's not everybody who can come out and crank out a movie like the best film of the year of 2018, A Quiet Place. It's best film of the year, in my opinion, at any rate. Not everybody can come out and do that. Getting lots of good comic book material, not lots of, but, let's keep the filmmakers spread, let's keep the talent spread around. But, yes, if they announced tomorrow that John Krasinski was directing any DC movie, or if John Krasinski was directing any MCU movie, then I'd be all for it. I'd be all for it. Of course I would, but I kind of would like him to make other films. Make some other things, man. All right, Richard writes, Terminator versus Robocop, who wins? Oh, Terminator. Terminator wins that, yeah. No doubt, Terminator wins that. Artur Mansouri writes, where do we go? There he is. I was at the Q&A last night for Fighting With My Family. Oh, cool. I wasn't able to come and say hi next time, but my question is, did you like it? I loved it. Yeah, I was surprised, Artur. I was very surprised. And actually, I got up and asked a question, and I was going to say, hey guys, look, I'll be honest with you. I thought this movie was going to suck, but it's awesome. But I decided not to say that. I had a very, very good time at that movie. It surprised me about just how much charm and heart it had. I expected some laughs because Stephen Merchant wrote and directed the movie. So I expected laughs. I didn't expect that much heart. And that's what made this movie good to me. The laughs were great, but the laughs won't make a bad movie good. It had heart. and it had charm, and those are things I wasn't expecting from it, and I really enjoyed it. And it was a great time last night screening, because I did have a whole bunch of people stop me in the. It was at the ArcLight Hollywood, and I had a whole bunch of people stop and take pictures with me and everything, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, next time you see me, Artur, come up and say hi. I always get a big kick out of that. So never feel hesitant about doing that. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, thoughts on American Animals. It was my 6th favorite movie last year. Thought it was fantastic mix of biopic and documentary filmmaking techniques. I didn't get around to seeing American Animals. And I remember, I think, who was it? Was it MoviePass? I think MoviePass was one of the, MoviePass was one of the producers of the movie. And so MoviePass, that might have been something that turned me off from it, to be honest. And that's not fair. It's not fair. But I think the fact that MoviePass was constantly spamming me promotion for American Animals, that MoviePass is associated with it, then I don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's not fair. No, I admit that. It's not fair. Not fair. But it did. I'm just being honest. It did. It affected my enthusiasm for wanting to see it. Made $3.9 million at the box office, so obviously not a lot of people saw it. So, I ended up taking a pass on it. At least I think I did. Wait a minute. Now, wait. Did I see it? Oh, wait, I might have seen it. Am I confusing it with another film? I'm going to stick with that I didn't see it for now, but I reserve the right to correct myself later. Anyway, let's see. Matt Simon writes, who is the GOAT? Jones, GSP, Demetrius Johnson, Silva. Well, certainly not Jones. I mean, that dude is coked up, roided up, broke so many rules and things. No, John Bones Jones is out of the conversation. He's just out of the conversation forever. Demetrius Johnson, never. The problem with Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, was he was the most dominant guy in his weight class out of anybody in any weight class. There's no doubting that. But the problem was he was Larry Bird that didn't have a Magic Johnson. Do you know what I mean? Like, Magic had Bird. Bird had Magic. They could elevate each other to great heights. If John Bones Jones wasn't such an idiot and cheat his way through everything and hit and run women and coke up and whatever, all the other stuff he did, and just was a revolting human being, in my opinion. But he had DC, right? He had Daniel Cormier. He had a true, legitimate rival that could elevate him to potentially to greatness, right? GSP had a couple of guys like that along the way, whether it was Matt Serra at first, BJ Penn later on, both Diaz brothers wanted, and both got their asses whooped. So GSP had a couple of those guys. There was never really anybody in Demetrius's weight division that could be his Larry Bird or his Magic Johnson. There was no true rival for him in that division until the new champ came along and beat him. But before that, there wasn't anybody. So it's hard to elevate somebody into that category, into that stratosphere, you know? So I don't know. I would say it comes down between GSP and Anderson Silva. I think it comes down between GSP and Anderson Silva. Because both of these guys defended their belts like 5,000 times, right? So I think it comes down between the two of them, but it's certainly a discussion that's open for debate. All right. My throat's starting to get dry a little bit. Ryan Loner writes, most badass character ever, the random truck driver who fights off Dom's whole crew and drives off without a scratch in the first movie. Who the hell was he? I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I hated the first Fast and Furious. I think I've seen it twice in my life, and I do not remember. Because I just remember I watched the movie, I thought it sucked, and I was completely pissed off at it because it was a brutally overt ripoff. Plot point by plot point by plot point ripoff of Point Break. It was basically, the first Fast and Furious was nothing but a Point Break remake without acknowledging that it was a Point Break remake. It was a plot-by-plot, total ripoff of Point Break. And it sucked, in my opinion. I know a lot of you guys like the first Fast and Furious. More power to you. All film subjective. That's great. I thought it was horrible. And I thought it was dirty, the way they just ripped off Point Break. But, so honestly, I don't even remember the scene, Ryan. I don't even remember the scene. By the way, hey, Google, when did The Fast and the Furious release? I can't remember what year it was.
The Fast and the Furious came out in the United States of America on June 18th, 2001.
2001, 18 years ago. Whew, think about that. The Fast and Furious franchise has been around forever. That's crazy. But man, yeah, like I said, dude, I can't even remember the damn scene because it's been a long time since I've seen it again, and I never plan on watching it again either. All right. Akeem writes, I'm not watching any trailers for episode 9. I want to go in totally blind. Well, best of luck with that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. See, because there have been once or twice in my life that said, okay, I don't want to watch any trailers, but then, oh, there's the trailer. Click, and then you end up watching it. Or you're going to be watching TV, and a trailer will start for something on TV, a TV spot, and you're not even going to know it's episode 9 until a few seconds in, and now you've already started watching it. It's like, that'll happen. Being a commentator, it's my job to watch the trailers and talk about them, so I can't do that. I remember I would always have to give Schnepp, when I was working with John Schnepp, he goes, man, I don't want to watch any trailers for this. It's like, I remember a couple of times, like, I'd come into the studio in the morning. It's like, okay, has everybody watched this trailer? Because a new trailer dropping, we'd have to talk about it on the show. That was our job, right? And Schnepp's like, yo, man, I haven't watched that. I'm like, okay, well, you got 15 minutes. Go ahead and watch the trailer. Nah, man, I want to go. I don't want to see more trailers for that movie. I just want to go and watch the movie clean. And I have to sit down with him and put my hand on his shoulder. Schnepp, I can appreciate that the movie fan, Schnepp, doesn't want to watch these trailers, but the professional Schnepp, that your job is to get onto a show and talk about these new trailers, the professional Schnepp is going to have a bit of a conflict with the movie fan Schnepp. So you kind of need to watch this trailer. But I want to go into it clean. I understand that. I understand, big guy. But our job is to get on a show and talk about our thoughts, opinions, and breakdown of these new trailers that come out. And that's what we're here to do. We got, whatever, tens of thousands of people are going to be tuning in to watch us talk about it. We owe it to them to give them our thoughts and opinions. So you got to watch the trailer. No, fine, I'll watch the trailer. And then you would watch the trailer. And I felt bad for him, but it's not good to want to go into a movie clean but have a job where it's your job to give your opinion on things. So, but I get it, but good luck, man. It's going to be tough. Not just because of temptation, but because there's going to be times you're going to start watching 5 or 10 seconds of it and not even realize what it is you're watching and go, oh, damn it. And by then it's too late, right? So all I can say is good luck to you, sir. Good luck. I hope you're able to do it. Okay. I'm going to mispronounce it again. Ram Arma 30 writes, vast movie-going audiences are well aware of upcoming films with everyone owning smartphones. In no way would people not know about major films. Studios use social media as marketing platforms. Sorry, the reality is, look, everybody has a smartphone. Yes. Not everybody uses their smartphone the same way you use them. Not everybody has movie ads flowing in their social media because guess what? Facebook knows what you're interested in. If you're not a big movie person and you're not constantly looking up movie stuff, you're not going to get a ton of movie stuff in your Facebook feeds. That's how this kind of stuff works. Every major marketing division will tell you the still number one way to increase awareness of your films is still the traditional methods. It still is. It's been proven. They've done studies. They've invested because they invest hundreds of millions of dollars, nay, billions of dollars every year into marketing. They need to know scientifically where is the best place to put our money. And what all the studios have told me is while social media stuff is a quickly growing platform for that, by far, the traditional marketing outlets is still the most popular. You can argue with that all you want, but it's a fact. Because studies have been done on this by the studios who want to know where to put their attention and their money. Because they want the best bang for their buck when it comes to marketing their films. Will that always be the case? No, that won't always be the case. Is it the case right now? Yes. So, no, I'm sorry. Big movie-going audiences are not all, the vast majority of the average movie-going audience are not all aware of the films coming out. I guarantee you that. I know that for a fact. All right? Just because people in your circles may, and that's the thing, we have this homogenized mentality that, oh, because me and my circles all know about this, that means everybody does. And it's not true. We think reality is shaped by what we see right in front of us. That's a very human thing. That's what we do. But it's just not true. It's just not true. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the reality of it, man. That's just the facts. All right. C-Spice right now writes, saw Alita. It was almost good. Some awful dialogue and acting, amazing visuals and action. Wouldn't mind a sequel. Alita herself is great. Are you seeing it? Yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. I'm absolutely going to see it. I'm going to try to get up there and see it tonight. So absolutely, it's on my radar. I want to go see it. But that's exactly what you're saying there, C-Spice, is exactly what I've been a little bit worried about, right? Great action and visuals. Awful dialogue. Awful acting. Not great narrative, not great character development. See, that's what I'm worried about. But hey, you don't have to do everything right in a movie to be a good movie. If you do certain things right, but do them stupid good, it can overshadow any of the deficiencies you have in a movie. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is, hey, we're not going to talk about the story, dialogue, and characters, but the action and the visuals are so good, it compensates for any other weakness the film has, and it pushes it over that line from being a bad movie to being a good movie. If it does that, great. I have been hoping for more than 10 years that James Cameron would finally make his movie, not Robert Rodriguez, James Cameron. I wanted James Cameron directing this thing, but he's busy with 85 Avatar sequels. Anyway, and I've been wanting it to be like an Academy kind of level stuff where it would have amazing dialogue and great narrative and super character development and all the stuff that you want in a great movie on top of great action and great visuals. It looks like we're not going to get both. Fine. If one can be good enough to make it enjoyable, here's hoping, C-Spice. Here's hoping. All right. Richard Karate writes, my dream fan casting, Toby Kebbell as Batman. Really? Toby Kebbell is interesting. Jenna Dewan as Catwoman, Scarlett Adkins as Deathstroke, Bryan Cranston as Commissioner Gordon. I could be down for a couple of those. Scott Adkins, if you don't give him tons of dialogue, I'd be down for that. The dude can pull off the physicality in a movie, no doubt. Who's Jenna Dewan again? I'm going to kick myself. Hold a second. Jenna Dewan. I know I'm going to kick myself once I see what she's in. You know what? No, I don't recognize her. The name sounds familiar, but I don't know who she is. She certainly got a little bit of a Catwoman look, but I wouldn't base that on anything. But the one I like the most there is, hey, if they announce Bryan Cranston tomorrow as Commissioner Gordon, I'd be down with that. Although I did like J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, too. DC Patience writes, which movies are Anne most excited about seeing? Which one is she most excited about seeing? You know what? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Just randomly off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure which one she's most excited about seeing. I know she really wants to go see Happy Death Day to You. She's dying to see Happy Death Day to You. Captain Marvel. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Anne's going over the moon about Captain Marvel. She's dying to see Captain Marvel. She's read all of Captain Marvel's stuff. She is a big Captain Marvel fan. She's loved the trailers. Anne's losing her mind for Captain Marvel. So yeah, by far, she's actually looking forward to Captain Marvel more than she's looking forward to Infinity War. Or to Endgame, I should say. Let that sink in. She's more looking forward to Captain Marvel than she is to Endgame. So take that. Okay. I'm going to answer a couple more here, guys, and then I'm going to take a 3-minute break so I can go gargle some salt water, refill my drink, and then we'll continue on. But I'm going to answer a few more before we do take our break. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes right now. James Welsh writes, Bill and Ted 30 Toma and Keanu barely age. Well, I mean, yeah, look, first of all, we constantly talk about how, at some point, Keanu Reeves sacrificed human children at a demon crossroads and made a deal with the devil to stop aging. I mean, that's just clear. Because, hey, Google, how old is Keanu Reeves? I know the dude's in his 50s now, but I can't.
Keanu Reeves is 54 years old.
He's 54 years old, right? He don't look a day over 45. Like, he looks at least 10 years younger than he is. He looks at least 10 years younger than he really is. Nuts. I mean, that's completely crazy, right? The dude just does. Him and Samuel Jackson. We were talking, me and some friends were talking about Samuel L. Jackson. Me and Ray and Ann were talking about Samuel L. Jackson the other day because the dude's 71 now, right? Samuel L. Jackson aged like a normal human being up to the age of 50. And then around 50, he just stopped aging. The dude looks the exact same to me, and in some ways better to me at 71 than he did at 55, right? Just like he aged like a normal human being, then all of a sudden somewhere around his 50th birthday, 51st, 52nd, 53rd, around there somewhere, I'm just not going to age anymore. And then he stopped aging. So yeah, Samuel Jackson, Keanu Reeves, yeah, those are some big ones. All right. Chris Warden writes, I've been reading rumors that Disney and Netflix are negotiating to bring The Defenders over to Hulu in 2020. Have you heard anything? I've heard nothing about that. As a matter of fact, the things I have heard, which I don't necessarily believe or put a lot of stock in, to be very, very clear, the things I have heard is something around the exact opposite. That Marvel is a little bit interested in just wiping away those series so that they can have options to incorporate characters into movies. A new rendition of Daredevil into the movie universe. A new rendition of Luke Cage into the movie universe. And just wipe away the television stuff. So, now again, I don't necessarily put a lot of stock in that stuff either. So, no, I don't put a lot of stock in that. It's one of the things, though, that is totally possible, Chris. It's one of those things that is totally possible. But again, I think if I had to guess, I guess that the other stuff, it would be closer to the other things that I'm hearing. That Marvel is more interested in wiping out the TV series stuff to make those characters available for rebooting into the MCU. That is my guess, but I could totally go this other way, though. It could totally go the other way. There's a lot of options on the table right now. All right, Richard Karate writes, Part 2. The Rock as Bane, as Bane. I don't see that. Billy Bob Thornton as Joker. I don't know about that one either. Last but not least, Liam Neeson as Alfred. Your thoughts on this cast list? Well, some are intriguing. Again, I'm most intrigued by the Bryan Cranston. The Bryan Cranston one, yes. The Rock as Bane. No, I don't see that at all. He's a big, muscular guy, but I don't see him as a fit for that. Billy Bob Thornton has historically been a great actor. He's lost some stock with me over the past 10 years or so. So I wouldn't really see that. Liam Neeson as Alfred? No, I don't see that one either. I mean, but who knows, right? You could make a movie with this as your cast, and it could be outstanding. It could. It's not the cast I would put together. It's not the fits that I see. But hey, these are, for the most part, these are talented actors. And my main thing, hey, whatever, put a talented actor in, and it's got a chance for success. So it's not necessarily the guys I would cast, but hey, talented actors, so they could make it work. Yeah, it'd be fine. Okay. Ram Arma 30 writes, DC should focus on otherworldly individual films and let Marvel focus on cinematic universe. It seems it's what they do better than anyone else. I don't know. I don't agree. I don't agree at all. And I've said this many times. I will say it again. The problems that the DC universe ran into had anything to do with the fact that they did team-up movies instead of 5 standalone movies first. It's not that they did this instead of this. It's just about making good movies. That's it. There is no magic formula. Because I'll tell you what, it would have been completely pointless that Marvel did Iron Man, then Captain America, then Thor, and then whatever order they all came in, and then did that. But that's not what made it work. What made it work was the movies they put out were good movies that people enjoyed and the vast audience appreciated and buzzed about and the critics liked and had success. That's what did it. It wasn't the formula of standalone team. It's not the formula that did it. And it's not the lack of formula that made the DC property struggle. Why Marvel succeeded ultimately was because they made good movies that the majority of the audiences loved. That's why they succeeded. Not because they did a formula. Standalone team. If everybody just does that, everybody will love everything. No, that's not what did it. You know, the DC came out of the gate with a standalone film, Man of Steel. I thought it was magnificent, but a lot of you yahoos didn't seem to like it. I'll film subject. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I'm going to give you a hard time for not liking it because that movie deserved more respect. Anyway, they came out of the gate with Man of Steel. Fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter that's one of my all-time favorite comic book films. It doesn't matter that I think it's one of the 10 greatest comic book films of all time. It doesn't matter that I think it's the most underappreciated comic book movie of all time. The fact of the matter is, a hell of a lot of people didn't like it. Hell of a lot of people didn't like that movie. Audiences, critics, hell of a lot of people did not like that movie. That's the problem. Batman vs. Superman could have been the greatest movie of all time. I liked it. Not as much as Man of Steel, granted, but I like Batman vs. Superman. The fact that they had Batman and Superman in the same movie is not the problem. The problem is they made a movie that not a lot of people liked. That's the problem. It's not formula. It's just about executing good standalone movies. Aquaman didn't work because it's a standalone movie. Aquaman worked because it's a crowd-pleasing, fun movie. That's why it worked. That's why it succeeded. Not because it was a standalone film. It succeeded because it was a crowd-pleasing, enjoyable, entertaining, well-executed movie. That's why it worked. That's why it worked. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't need 5 standalone movies before doing Guardians of the Galaxy. They didn't need to do a standalone, Peter Quill movie, then a standalone Rocket movie, then a standalone Groot movie, then a standalone Gamora movie, then a standalone Drax the Destroyer movie that all ends up with them ending up in that prison together, and then you do the Guardians of the Galaxy team-up movie. No, they didn't need to follow that formula. They just went, boom, Guardians of the Galaxy. But they made a fun, entertaining, crowd-pleasing movie that people liked. It has nothing to do that, DC needs to stick. Now, by the way, it does look like DC is going to try to stick to some individual movies and kind of not focus on any shared cinematic universe stuff, at least for a while, and that's fine, but it's irrelevant. None of that matters unless you execute and make good movies. And if you make good movies, it doesn't matter what formula you follow. And if you make bad movies, it don't matter what formula you follow because a formula ain't going to fix bad movies. And I just still get frustrated this day that I see so many fans still saying, well, if they just did this formula, no. It's about making good movies. Because if Batman vs. Superman was a movie that everybody beloved, we wouldn't be having this conversation about formula. Formula doesn't make movies good. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Rome Arma. That's just my thoughts on it. All right. Patrick Conway writes, Loki gets Rick and Morty writer for showrunner. I haven't heard that, but it's kind of cool if it's true. Concerning a bit, but whatever. Richard Karate writes, was Timothy Dalton an underrated Bond? I don't think he was underrated. I don't think people thought he sucked. I've never heard people say Timothy Dalton was a terrible Bond. I've not heard a lot. I'm sure there are some people that think that, but there are some people that think that about Daniel Craig. So no, I don't think he was an underrated Bond. I think people appreciate him. I don't think he was the greatest Bond ever, and he's certainly not considered that. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say, no, I don't think he was an underrated Bond. All right. Afoki Egodo writes, What's your favorite Black Mirror episode? I don't watch Black Mirror. The only episode, I've seen one episode of Black Mirror. And it was the episode where the girls meet and fall in love in the virtual reality. That's the only episode I've ever seen. And I liked it. I liked it very much. But I've never seen any other episode of Black Mirror. It's not something I watch. But everybody tells me I should watch it. Okay, I get it. I just don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of TV. But I will get around to watching that at some point. All right. My throat's starting to go. James L.H. writes, "Hey, John. Indy Trilogy is my third favorite after original Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Favorite people in film, Ford, Spielberg, Lucas, and Williams together. What's not to love?" Dude, I mean, really, when you think about it, when you think about the Indiana Jones films, in sports terminology, and you guys know I love my sports analogies, in sports terminology, it's like putting together the dream team, like not even an all-star team. You're putting together a Hall of Fame team. You're talking a movie with John Williams scoring, George Lucas writing, Steven Spielberg directing, Harrison Ford leading the way. Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? It's incredible when you think about it. And yeah, I love the original trilogy. And by the way, my favorite, much like Star Wars, my favorite Star Wars movie is the third chapter. It's Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is my all-time favorite Star Wars movie. And my all-time favorite Indiana Jones movie is also the third installment. It's, sorry about that. My favorite Indiana Jones film is still the third one. Okay, so you got Temple of Doom is the second one. You got Raiders of the Lost Ark first, Temple of Doom, and then, wait, why did I just freeze on the name of the third Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones and, second. Why am I freezing on the Indiana Jones movie name? I had it, and then I coughed, and then I came back from my cough, and I forgot what, let's see. It's Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, of course, The Last Crusade. It's just the best, and it ended so perfectly with Sulla and the Jones boys and Marcus literally riding off into the sunset on their horses. It's the best ending ever. Best ending ever. And yeah, it's got to rank right up there. Like, I don't know that it's in my top 3, but it's got to be in the discussion. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings are in my top 2. Then you got to put maybe the Toy Story trilogy's got to be in there. The Indy trilogy's got to be in consideration there. The Godfather trilogy, 2 out of the 3 won Best Picture. So the Godfather trilogy's got to be in the conversation. A lot of big ones up there in the conversation. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, "If Thanos had the dwarves make the gauntlet, then what was the gauntlet he got in the Age of Ultron end credits?" I think it's an irrelevant moot point. It's like somebody was asking me the other day as well that, wait a minute, what about the one that Hela had in that she knocked over and said fake in Thor Ragnarok? Well, I was like, you know what? It really honestly wasn't anything. That was just a cute, fun little moment that they put in the film. I don't think it was meant to be canonical. I don't think they meant for it to be taken seriously. And honestly, I don't think that little thing that Thanos does, I think they did that before they even knew exactly how they were going to do Infinity War. So I honestly don't even take it all that seriously. I don't. I think it's something that was just a fun little post-credit thing, but I don't think it's meant to be considered canon. You know what I mean? So I personally give them a little bit of a, I personally give them a little bit of a pass on that. Now, the one thing you can say is that, that Marvel does not have the whole continuity. You could argue that Marvel doesn't have the whole continuity schmontinuity attitude that, say, Fox has had with their X-Men films. And I would say that there is a gray area. I think there's a middle ground between saying, look, understanding that there's canon, but that doesn't mean every little thing they do in their thing has to be complete canon. Because canon in something like, I think the MCU isn't nearly as important as it is in, say, like something like a Star Wars universe, for example. That canon needs to be canon. I think Marvel is allowed to take liberties, throwing little fun things here and there that have different levels of meaning and importance. So I really honestly wouldn't even worry about it. I wouldn't think about it. I personally don't give it a second thought. All right, what's next? Is it Matt? No, it's Richard. Richard writes, best Wolfgang Peterson movie. Air Force One is great. It's hard. You know, it's funny that you asked that because somebody brought up Das Boot the other day, or also known as The Boat. 1981 German film about the submarine. That movie's great. And it's hard to go against that one. You do have Neverending Story, Perfect Storm. One of the ones that he does that I think was really underrated was Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo, about the disease Outbreak. Outbreak's great. I'm going to go Das Boot. Das Boot is the one I got to stick with. Matthew Dak-Utros writes, Ben Affleck and Batman Beyond Wayne, quite the same year. Affleck and Batman Beyond Wayne, quite the same year. I apologize, Matthew. I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking. Richard follows up with thoughts on the movie Outlander with him Caviezel. Are you talking Jim Caviezel? Is that the one where he's like hunting an alien? Hold on a second. Let me just... Hold on a second. Jim... I think that's when you're... The one where he was hunting like an alien, right? Like he crashed on Earth in the Viking era and he was hunting an alien. If so, I didn't bother watching it. Hold on a second. Outlander. During the reign of the Vikings, Canaan, a man from the far-off world, crash lands on Earth, bringing with him an alien predator known as the Morwen. Though both man and monster are seeking revenge for violence committed against them, Cain leads the alliance to kill the Morwen. I didn't watch it. It looked like a B movie to me, to be honest with you, so I took a pass on it. All right. Dominic Francis writes, one of my favorite scenes in film is Sam's speech at the end of Two Towers. Love that moment. Chills every time. Sean Astin was so good in them movies, and Sam was the real MVP. There are people, look, there are papers, articles written, and videos made by people making the argument that Samwise Gamgee was actually maybe, but when it's all said and done, the most important figure in the Lord of the Rings stories. I don't dismiss those. I just think there are several characters, depending on your point of view, you could look at it in such a way that you can make, I mean, obviously Aragorn, the Strider, you can make the argument he was the most key central figure. You can make a solid argument that Gandalf is the key most central figure. Obviously, the most obvious choice is Baggins, is Frodo. Because that's kind of what it makes it look like he's, and maybe he is. You can make, there's a lot of different ways you can look at different characters, which is part of the brilliance of the Lord of the Rings, right? That's part of the brilliance of the Lord of the Rings films, is it's got all these incredible characters that you can all look at a certain way. And depending on your point of view, you could say, oh, the Lord of the Rings, really the key central figure is this guy. It's Merry. It's Samwise. It's Strider. It's Gandalf. And on and on and on you go. I mean, you could really do that. But yeah, there's a good argument to make. And Sean Astin was so good in that. So good in that. It's really, I get a kick out of seeing him pop up in things now too. All right. I'm going to take this one last question. Then we're going to take like a 3 or 4 minute break while I gargle salt water, top off my drink, and just take a break for a second here. James L.H. writes, like you always had an interest in box office. As a kid, loved Star Wars, was my film, #1 of all time. For a short time, I hated E.T. when it knocked it off. Love E.T., but had this irrational moment. Yeah, I've never understood, like, that movie made more money than my favorite movie, so I hate that movie. I don't understand that tendency that people have. And it's a natural, bitter little instinct I think we all share. I think we all have that, and I'll never understand that tendency in us. It's like, what? That movie got higher ratings on Rotten Tomatoes? Quick, let's all go downvote it. Or that movie made more money? Let's tell everybody. Let's hate that movie now. It's something we all do. It's something we all do, and it's irrational, and we totally shouldn't, but feel like it's a part of our human condition. That we should fight against, yes, because yeah, E.T.'s great. E.T.'s wonderful. And, made by George Lucas's pal, Steven Spielberg, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm the same way, right? There's still a part of me that has, even though Forrest Gump is brilliant, Forrest Gump is wonderful. It's a great movie. But I must admit, I carry this little seed of bitterness towards Forrest Gump that I totally shouldn't. But I do. I carry this little seed of bitterness towards Forrest Gump simply because it's so undeservingly won Best Picture over Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. That is irrational of me. I shouldn't feel that way, and yet I do, and I think we all carry that little bit of bitterness in us when some movie outdoes one of our favorite movies, either by a critic rating or a fan score or a box office score or whatever. We seem to do that, and we totally shouldn't, but we do. Okay, guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 3 or 4 minutes here. Go take just a little bit of a break. We've gone over 1.5 hours already. We're at 1 hour and 35 minutes that we've been going. We still have a long way to go. A lot of questions still to get to, guys, and we're going to do that. So do me a favor, if you're in the live chat board and other people come along saying, hey, wait a minute, where's the show? Just tell people John's just taking a few minutes of a break. He'll be right back. So I will be back, guys, and I will leave you with this shameless plug of my Patreon page to keep you company while I go and take a short break. Again, just give me 3 or 4 minutes, 5 at the most, and I'll be right back, and we'll pick up with the next question from James Welsh. We'll be right back. And we are back. How you doing, guys? We are now here for the second part of today's open mic. Thank you for your patience while I took a little bit of a break there. And we're going to get things rolling back up here again, starting with, where do we leave off? I believe James L.H.'s was the last one we took. So now we will go to James Welsh, who writes, more powerful, Dom's wrench or the Infinity Gauntlet? Yeah, man, it all depends on again, who is writing it. And damn it, I left my drink downstairs. Give me, I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second while I go and get that. I'll be right back. I will be right. All right, I'm back again. Sorry. I'm so disheveled here on the weekends. Okay, let's get back. Okay, so Dominic Toretto's wrench or the Infinity Gauntlet. If Vin Diesel is producing it, clearly it's Dom's wrench. I can just see it now. You have that whole scene, from Infinity War where Thor throws Stormbreaker and it starts cutting through the blast of the Infinity Gauntlet. That would be Dominic Toretto's wrench. That would be Dominic Toretto's wrench. Okay, let's move on here. Next one. Don Jariasunat. Anyway, sorry if I'm butchering that. 224 projects, a legal thriller, and Jack Bauer prequel were shelved by Fox. With that news, do you think it's time to put this series to rest for good? For good is an extreme thing. For good is a little extreme. Do I think it's time to put it to bed for a while and then maybe try to reboot it in 4 or 5 years? Maybe, but yeah, I mean, they already did that. They tried to do that, relaunch the series with a different character other than Jack Bauer. And he was like some military guy. I can't remember what they called the series. I never watched it. But I think for at least a while. Yeah, I'll replace your words for good with a while. I think it is time probably put this to bed for a while. Look, even with Jack Bauer, the series lost steam. As all series do eventually, right? All series eventually start to lose steam. It did. I don't think 24 was ever as good as it was in season 1. It's a great concept, but yeah, I think it's time to put it away for a bit. Rama Arma 30 writes, I would love to see Avengers 4 go into quantum physics, manipulating the fabric of reality and the wormhole theory, a great plot thread. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, maybe, but to like hardcore sci-fi geeks, maybe. To average film fans like my mom and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know if that, like, whenever you start getting into stuff where by exploring this, we could lose our viewers' interest as we go, you got to be very careful with that. Now, if, Scott and Tony end up having some basic conversation about it once, that's cool. But to make the unfolding of quantum physics and everything to be a key central plot line throughout, I think you run the danger of alienating your audience a bit. And because ultimately, like when you look at Infinity War was actually very straightforward. There are these things that if Thanos gets them, he can kill half the people in the universe. That's pretty straightforward. It was all wrapped into this great drama that unfolded, but It was very easy for the audience to follow along. Okay, we got it. These 6 Infinity Stones, very powerful. If Thanos wants to get them all, and if he gets them all, he can snap his fingers and wipe out half of existence. They're easy to follow. Even the most basic average filmgoer can go and watch that, not be alienated, not lose them. I think you just got to be really, really careful with stuff like that. We'll see. Zaya writes, what are your thoughts of Falcon from the MCU? I get a big kick out of Falcon. I think he's a great character. He's a great supporting character, much like Hawkeye, much like War Machine, much like, I think a Scarlet Witch. I think these are great supporting characters that add a lot to the main hero. Like when you got Captain America's great. He's my favorite character in the MCU. But when you give him another character like a Sam or Falcon to bounce off of, it's great. And Sam to give Sam's hilarious, by the way. I rewatched Winter Soldier again recently, and you forget how funny Sam is in. Like that one line he says in Winter Soldier when Cap and Black Widow are taking refuge at his place after the explosion in the bunker. Sam comes in and is like, I made breakfast if you kind of people eat breakfast. Like it was just, I can't remember the exact, but it's something like that. Sam is such a great, he's fun character. He's that wall bounce off for Cap. I just think he's elevated. I think he's elevated the Cap character. I think he's elevated the things he's in. I really like the addition of Falcon. And by the way, their use of Falcon in the Ant-Man movie was great, which ultimately brought Ant-Man into Civil War. He's been a really nice piece to the puzzle. He's a really now. It can't all be Thor's and Iron Man's and Captain America's. You need solid secondary characters to make something great. And like I said, I think the way Falcon is just kind of, he's one of my favorite secondary characters in the whole thing. I prefer him over, I'll straight up, I like Falcon more than Hawkeye. Put it that way. All right. Let's see. I cannot read the name. Writes, saw Alita today. The first 2 acts set up pretty good, but the third act was so bad. Very disappointed. The ending is anticlimactic. Again, I haven't seen it myself. And again, it's all about whenever anybody is talking about visuals and action, everybody glows. When people are talking about the 3-act structure, the narrative, the dialogue, it tends to go south. So my hope at this point is I'm going to get to go into Alita Battle Angel and be so overwhelmed by the great action and great visuals that it will mitigate the negative effects of maybe poor story structure, poor narrative, poor dialogue. I'm hoping one's going to, because that's what I'm getting from everybody. Great visuals and action, not so great with the other stuff. Hopefully one outweighs the other, and that's what I'm going to. So for you, clearly, the negative outweighed the positive. For some other people, the positive's outweighing the negative. I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed and hope I have a good time with it. All right. I'm Upset writes, 30% The Chaos Walking is dumped on Netflix. Oh, I will take the over on that. I will take the over on that. By the way, I was the first guy to tell you that I had bumped off its release date. Don't forget that. Talked to a studio guy, and apparently the movie is not just delayed, it's a mess. Apparently that movie is a mess, and they simply don't know what to do with it right now. I'm upset. I will take that 30%, and I will say way over. All day, every day, twice on Sunday. I will take over 30% that it will get dumped on Netflix. I'm not saying it's a 90%. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I will take the over 30% that it's ultimately going to get dumped on Netflix. Zaya writes, you are about to go on a perilous heist, against dangerous criminals. Which MIC characters, I'm going to guess you mean MCU, would you have rather as backup, Korg or Luis? Well, for pure entertainment and fun, Luis. But for superpowers, I'll take the giant dude made out of rock. I'll take him. I would probably much more enjoy the conversation with Luis, although Korg is really funny too. But I'm going to go out on a limb on this one and take the super strength, super warrior made out of stone. If I need to be going up against some guys, I'm going to take Korg again all day, every day, twice on Sunday. No doubt about it. All right. By the way, a number of people suggested how great would it be if Endgame started with Michael Pena as Luis in a 5-minute rundown of the entire MCU up until Endgame. How glorious would that be? Marvel, I'll give you a free tip right now. You guys make a 6-minute YouTube video of Michael Pena as Luis sitting down in a bar with somebody and telling them the entire story of the MCU up to Endgame. That will become the highest viewed video in YouTube history. I'm guaranteeing it right now. It will become the highest viewed video in the history of YouTube. Put it together, make it happen. All right. Jacob Ibarra writes, "Hey, John. Went back and watched Schnepp's, Harloff's, and your reaction to the first image of Affleck's Batman on AMC. You guys were so excited and optimistic. Really sucks he had to leave. Dude, I'm not going to lie. I'm an emotional mess over the departure of Ben. I have been for 2 years. Because I knew about his departure 2 years ago, but just nobody believed me when I tried to tell you. Anyway. I've been totally distraught and torn up about it. He is my favorite Batman to date. I love him as Batman. And I think he would have given us the best Batman movie ever. I really do. I think the potential was there that he could have made a Batman movie to rival The Dark Knight. I really do. I honestly believe it. I mean, you can't guarantee that, no, but I believe the potential was there because of the passion that Ben Affleck has for Batman, the way he understands Batman better than anybody else in Hollywood. I really believe that he had the potential to make a Batman movie even better than The Dark Knight. Things went south. C'est la vie. But yeah, I mean, hey, and I remember when me and Schnepp, just 5 minutes after they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, Schnepp and I made the first video online about it, and we loved it. We were like, this is genius. The rest of the world was laughing. But Schnepp and I went, no. This is a great fit. And everybody else laughed. Well, he's gone now. And you know, I would encourage people that whether you liked Batman versus Superman or not, don't let that distract you from how that Affleck himself was a really good Batman. At least I believe that. I thought he was great, and it really sucks that he's not there anymore. It's a shame. I'm still looking forward to seeing what Matt Reeves does with Batman. I totally am. I'm excited for it, if he ever makes it. But I'm totally lamenting the loss of Ben Affleck on that. All right. Orange Hand writes, I know you say opinions are no more correct than others, but in my opinion, not if they're based on ignorance, falsehoods, or prejudice. What do you think? Well, it all depends. Like, there are facts, and then there's opinion. Facts are quantitatively measurable. Anything that's not is opinion, right? If you have an opinion about whether something tastes good or bad, then no. There is no way to prove one guy is right over another. You put food in your mouth, you take a bite, and you either find it delicious or you don't. It's a subjective thing. Somebody else can put the same bite of food in their mouth and think it tastes terrible. Neither one of you are right or wrong, but so it all depends. Some things are not opinions. Like if I tell you that the temperature in Celsius that water freezes under normal circumstances is 0. That's not an opinion. That is a scientific fact. That is a quantifiable and measurable scientific fact. And if you were to say, well, I don't believe that. I believe it freezes at 5 degrees. Well, that's fine, but that's not an opinion. You are factually wrong. But the moment we start talking about anything that isn't quantifiably measurable, then we're into the realm of opinion. You know? It is not opinion, as somebody pointed out this great video that's online right now that talks about the objectivity versus the subjectivity of film. Here is objective fact that you cannot dispute. Luke Skywalker is a main character in Star Wars. That's true. You go and turn on Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is one of the central figures of the movie. That's not in dispute. It's there. It's factually provable. It's quantifiable. It's measurable. There he is. Luke Skywalker, that can't be debated. However, to say Luke Skywalker is a great character in Star Wars. Ah, now that's opinion. That's subjective. That is not something you can quantifiably and scientifically measure the truth of the statement or not. And if you cannot quantifiably measure the truth of a statement, then it is opinion. And your opinion is no more or less valid than mine, you know? As long as we always understand that there's a difference between the two. Like, you can say to me, I don't believe that Luke Skywalker's in Star Wars. Well, okay, you're wrong. That's not opinion, that's fact. But you can tell me, well, I thought Luke Skywalker is a stupid character. Okay, I'll disagree and I'll tell you why I think you're wrong, but you are not factually wrong. It is your opinion. So we always got to make sure we know the groundwork that we're dealing with when talking about any particular debate. All right. Jacob Ibarra writes, the tallest, strongest, fastest, most intimidating, and most brutal Batman to date. I think you're still talking about Ben Affleck. Oh, I agree. And again, to me, I've said this a million times, but to me, it's absolutely true. The reason Ben's Batman to me was the best Batman we've ever had, because his was the only Batman to truly understand. Ben Affleck was the only guy to bring to Batman a true understanding that Batman is the real person. Bruce Wayne is the fake person, the mask, the facade. Unlike most other comic book characters, Bruce Wayne was the facade. See, Bruce Wayne died in that alley with his parents, and the Batman was born, a creature of vengeance and rage and anger and justice and retribution. The Batman was born that night, and the real person is Batman. Even when you watch Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, Bruce Wayne is the real guy who he just puts on a mask and says, I need to take on a symbol that'll give somebody fear, blah, blah, blah. And that's great. I mean, there's one point in the movie that Rachel Dawes says to him, that Bruce Wayne was the mask. It's like, that's cool that they said that in the movie, but they didn't actually manifest that. In the movie, Bruce Wayne is Bruce Wayne, who happens to put on the cape and cowl at night to become the Batman. But Ben Affleck's Batman was, even in the quiet moments when he's not out fighting crime, when he's alone in his room, he's Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne. And that's what he got that other people didn't get. And I hope Matt Reeves gets that one thing. All right. Richard Karate writes, thought on Dean Cain's Superman. He's my favorite. I'll be honest with you. I saw a couple of episodes of Lois and Clark, and I was never a fan. That's just me, though. That's just me. I didn't watch the entire series. I didn't even watch an entire season. I saw a few episodes of Lois and Clark back in the day, and it never worked for me. I just didn't enjoy it. So I'll be honest with you, Dean Cain ranks pretty low for me. I thought initially in Supergirl, the new Supergirl show, it was rather interesting. I think Dean Cain plays her dad or something like that, the adopted dad. I thought that was interesting they brought him back for that, but I'll be honest, Dean Cain Superman not high on my list. All right. Plus98 writes, would you say Ben Affleck's second time as a comic book character was more successful than Daredevil despite mixed reviews? At least Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad made money. It depends. Yeah, I would say that his run as Batman was more successful than his run as Daredevil. If for no other reason that he got to be in more than one movie as Batman, right? He appeared in 3 movies as Batman. So, granted, very, very little in Suicide Squad, but he did appear in 3 movies as Batman. Daredevil, he only got the one shot. But I'll tell you what, I am unapologetically a Daredevil fan. I have always said, and I maintain to this day, if you take out that god-awful teeter-totter scene in Daredevil, you've got a great comic book movie. Not one of the all-time greats, but a great comic book movie. Not just good, great. I really enjoy that Daredevil, but man, that teeter-totter scene is so outrageously bad. There are some scenes that are so bad, it can almost ruin a movie for you. And that teeter-totter scene he does with Jennifer Garner is so bad, it nearly ruins that movie for me. It comes close to ruining that movie for me, but But yeah, I would say overall, just for the fact that he got to come back and play the role multiple times, I'll say the Batman character was more successful for him. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, I love keeping up with the careers of young, talented actors to see where they go. I keep an eye out for Barry Keoghan, Blake Jenner, Olivia Cook, I like her, Ellie Fanning, I like her too. They're all going to have great careers. Well, hard to say. Hollywood is a fickle thing. There's this big sign as you drive into downtown Hollywood. There's this big sign. It's a what's that tequila company? I think it's a Patron. I think it's a Patron ad. But there's a giant sign that says, fame is fleeting. Fame is fleeting. Perfection is forever. Patron tequila, whatever it is, right? But it's true in this town. Like, somebody can be super hot and then disappear. Like 6 years later, you're like, remember that actor? It's like, oh yeah, whatever happened to them, right? We see it happen all the time. There are some big stars that are able to endure, go past that. But in Hollywood, even when you're talented, it can partially just be about luck and getting the right breaks and being in the right thing and avoid being in the wrong thing, because careers can come and go pretty fast. Even a Timothée Chalamet, who might be one of the hottest young actors to keep an eye on right now, and he's got Dune coming out. Who knows? He might be somebody he might be a footnote in a trivia question 5 years from now. It's really tough to say. It's really tough to say in this business. But these are all definitely people for us to keep an eye on, for sure. Okay, let's see. Where are we at here? James Welsh writes, over under 25%, Affleck stars or directs for Marvel. I'm going to take the under on that. I don't think it's an impossibility. I don't think it's impossible. But Ben Affleck has now taken 2 turns in superhero films. Daredevil, which didn't treat him well, even though I like it a lot. And Batman, which clearly went very wrong for him behind the scenes. The notion that he may just want to jump right back into the superhero genre again, I don't know. Granted, it seems like Marvel under Kevin Feige is the healthier place to be, maybe, but I'm sure Walter Hamada is trying to change that over at DC right now, and he probably is. But 25% seems kind of high. I'm going to take the under on that. I'll take the under. All right. Jonathan follows up with, people need to stop giving Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart crap for being in Twilight. They've both given some amazing performances since then. Yes, and more so Robert Pattinson. And that's why, Jonathan, when the other day, when the fan treasure, Boss Logic, came out and said he put up that graphic and he said, hey, he's heard whispers that Robert Pattinson might be being looked at to be the new Batman in Matt Reeves' film. I was one of the first people to say, hey, before anybody gets all upset about that, understand this. Robert Pattinson is one hell of an actor. And everybody in Hollywood knows it. Not all the fans know it, because unfortunately a lot of fans don't see any independent films, and all they remember Robert Pattinson from is Twilight, and they just go, I don't want the Twilight vampire as my Batman. And that's fine, but don't say that until you've seen some of the films he's done since Twilight, because he has turned into one of the finest actors out there. The dude is legit. He is a powerhouse actor. He's very, very good. And everyone in Hollywood knows it. He's a serious contender. And I'm not saying Robert Pattinson is my first pick to play Batman. All I'm saying is, if they announce tomorrow that Robert Pattinson was playing Batman, I'm going to give it a standing ovation. I'm going to say, yeah, good pick. Many other good picks, maybe some picks I would have picked first, but Robert Pattinson would be a solid pick. And everybody laughed when Heath Ledger was cast as Joker, and everybody laughed when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. And there's going to be a lot of people that would laugh at first if Robert Pattinson gets picked as Batman, but I'm telling you what, he's a great actor. And I think he would be really good in the role. There are many others that would be really good, a number I would take over him, But if they picked him, that's a good pick. Kristen Stewart's also turned in some good performances, but I think out of the two of them, the one that's really standing out most to me right now is probably Robert Pattinson. All right, Jonathan follows up again with, thoughts on Kevin Smith doing a Howard the Duck animated series for Hulu. I'm super excited for it, and I think Howard the Duck is very underrated. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I really don't care. I love Kevin Smith. So I'm game for checking out anything that Kevin Smith does. Not so much with Howard the Duck. I frankly find Howard the Duck to be a pretty lame character. And I thought his post-credit scene in Guardians was pretty lame. I thought the original movie was really bad. Look, you could do some things that are interesting. And again, it's Kevin Smith doing it. So I'm going to go into it with at least a shred of optimism because it's Kevin Smith. And I love Kevin Smith. So we'll see. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be facetious and say, oh, I'm so excited for it. No, I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not super excited. I'll check it out because it's Kevin Smith. And hopefully it'll be one of those things that I don't think looks very good, but that I end up loving. And hopefully that's what this will be as well. But I got to admit, I'm not all that pumped about Howard the Duck, just to be straight up fair. All right. TF writes, I just watched A Quiet Place for the first time. Awesome. Because people were raving about it. Holy crap, what a suspenseful masterpiece. Well done, John Krasinski. One of my all-time favorites. Dude, again, you guys know, I've said hundreds of times, Quiet Place, in my opinion, is the best movie of 2018. It's the best movie of 2018. And it was all direction and terrific performances, but that stems from the direction. I really think John Krasinski should have been nominated for Best Director. Now, clearly, I think A Quiet Place should have been nominated for Best Picture as well, obviously, but I really think Krasinski should have been nominated for Best Director. He totally deserved it. That movie is masterful, especially when you consider the fact that so much of the movie had no dialogue. He had to tell this incredible, suspenseful, exciting, riveting movie, powerful and emotional and everything, and a lot of the movie, he couldn't use any dialogue. That's all direction. All direction. I'll tell you what, I bump and full marks to Bradley Cooper for the job he did directing A Star is Born. Absolutely. But I definitely think John Krasinski did a better directing job than Bradley Cooper did. And that's me not casting any shade on Bradley Cooper's directing for A Star is Born. I just think John Krasinski's Quiet Place outpaced it and outshone it. I really would have given it to him. But hey, it is what it is. But man, I love that movie. I love that movie. All right. Stubble McShave writes, Dune cast is amazing and there's some key roles left. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. That's one of the things. Robert and I were talking about this the other day. Is that there are some notable roles still, but that doesn't mean they're going to use them in the movie. Denis Villeneuve, remember, Peter Jackson didn't put Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings movies because they weren't really needed in the movie. There could be some key characters because I've been hearing some people saying, now there's still this character and this character and this character. And yeah. But remember, they might get cast, but Denis Villeneuve just might cut those characters out of the story and write around it. So keep that in mind too. But yeah, man, the cast is coming together. It looks amazing. All right. Levi Road writes, are you excited for the Lord of the Rings on Amazon? I am excited for that. Now, I'm not jumping up and down about it yet. I am excited for it. I want to see a first trailer, and we're a long ways off from that. We're a long ways away. But I do want to see a first trailer to see how it all kind of turns out. I want to see a first trailer, see how it turns out. What's it going to feel like? All that kind of stuff. But in principle, yes, I'm excited in principle for the Lord of the Rings series. All right, Sharon Carter writes, Johnny Depp won Best Actor at the SAG Awards for Pirates 1, beating Sean Penn for Mystic River, but loses the Oscar to him. Does that mean he was close? I wouldn't doubt it at all that he was close. And by the way, I do think the right guy, Sean Penn, deserved to win for Mystic River. No doubt. At least no doubt to me. But yeah, let's not forget, we forget now because we've had 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies and the Jack Sparrow character has gotten more and more ridiculous. But that first movie, he created an all-time iconic Hollywood character. Captain Jack Sparrow will go down as one of the great Hollywood cinematic characters. And when he created that in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, he really crushed it. And a lot of people forget he was nominated for an Academy Award for Pirates of the Caribbean. But he totally deserved that nomination. And yeah, I do believe he was close. I believe he was close. I believe the right guy won. But I believe it was closer than many people will probably give it credit for, Sharon. All right. Damien writes, your favorite Fincher film? Mine is Zodiac. Oh, and we've come back around because I accidentally started there when the show started. And then Damien with Kilmer, we did that. All right, so we move on now to Marie Seifring, who writes, I read that Blumhouse hopes to make The Invisible Man with a $10 million budget and maybe even use Universal's Dark Universe script. Have you heard anything about these reports? Thoughts? I have heard about them looking at Invisible Man and looking at the Universal Monsters film, kind of rebooting that whole thing, not necessarily making a big shared cinematic universe like Universal wanted to initially. As far as budgets, look, it's Blumhouse. Blumhouse reaches, they go, you want to make a movie about what? A demonic possessed toothpick that grows legs and stabs people in the throats at night as they sleep, and it's called what? Vampire Toothpick. Okay. Then what Jason Blum does is he reaches into his pocket and goes, okay, I got $6.47. Here you go. Go make a movie with that. They make these movies for pocket change compared to major Hollywood. Blumhouse has created an entire sub-industry within Hollywood of making good, entertaining movies for pocket change compared to the big budget movies and making good returns on their investment. You know, you think, oh, that movie made $70 million. What a flop. Aha, but it cost $9 million to make. They spent $9 million on that movie. That's a hit. That's something everybody wants to be a part of. So them wanting to make Invisible Man for cheap, that's not a newsflash. What would be the newsflash is if they're actually considering the Dark Universe script. That stuff I don't know about. I don't know anything about that, but I am curious. Look, Blumhouse puts out some really good stuff. They put out some crappy stuff, but they always put out things with a sensible budget. And for the most part, they usually get a pretty decent return. And if they can try to bring that type of a formula to some higher profile projects like Invisible Man or other creatures from the Dark Universe, then more power to them. Let's see how that kind of turns out. All right. And we have the big jump. So give me a second. Okay. Ali Hussein writes, I watched Alita yesterday. I really enjoyed the movie. The CGI was amazing and the characters are great, but the story was, nah. The relationship between the two characters, not feel any connection. Overall, I enjoyed Alita. Again, another great example. I like it. Visuals, action. Let's not talk about all the other elements. Again, that's what we're seeing, right? So fingers crossed, Allie, that I get to see this thing and hopefully the good outweighs the bad to me. It sounds like it did for you as well. It sounds like you had a good time and you enjoyed it. Hopefully I can watch it, walk out having enjoyed it too. So let's see how that all turns out. All right. Guitar Dude 513 writes, Batman needs a true big budget live action series. Kind of crazy he hasn't had one since Adam West. See, I don't know. I think that belittles the character, to be honest with you. I think that diminishes the character. I think Batman is a character you do not do a television show with. I think Batman is a character you reserve. Hold a second. Fact checker Jonathan just texted me, needs some information. Doing open mic. There we go. I believe Batman is a character you reserve exclusively for the big screen. That's my opinion. I believe you only diminish the character by giving him a weekly series, to be honest with you, and too many things can go wrong. But Warner Brothers has shown that they have been loosening more and more the restrictions on the ability to use these characters in television. Because there used to be a time when Superman, you cannot have Superman on TV. Batman character, you cannot use the Batman character in the CW stuff. Don't mention Batman. Don't talk. Well, maybe mention him, but you cannot. You don't have Batman in the television stuff. Keep your hands off that stuff. Protect, 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 protect. Well, then they pissed all over Superman in the CW universe. So there's that. And they're clearly loosening the reins on Batman in the TV series. So I don't know. It could happen. I just think it's a bad idea. I honestly think you reserve Batman for the movies. That's how I see it. I don't think anything good can come out of just putting him to television. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong. All right. Pedro Augusto Marquez writes, "Hey, John, do you think it's time for the best ensemble cast and best casting director at the Oscars?" Here's the problem with casting director. Is a lot of times the casting person is not the person who actually does the casting. It's actually the director. There's a lot of roles that the casting people will fill. And then for the rest of them, the casting people, like I remember I was talking to James Gunn, right? About how they came about Chris Pratt. All right. And while they did have a bunch of smaller roles that the casting person filled out, for a lot of the major roles, the casting person didn't decide. The casting person brought the director a number of people. Like the casting person wouldn't bring 1,000 people to James Gunn, but they'd bring like 15 people. Here, the 15 I think would be really good in this role. And then it's up to James Gunn, and then James Gunn makes that decision. So I'm not going to pretend to know all the ins and outs of every studio and how they handle it, but it seems to me having a best casting director category is problematic. I'll say that. It feels like that's a category that would be problematic. Best ensemble, yes. I do believe it's time for best ensemble. SAG has best ensemble. I believe that's totally a legit thing. It's an award that was designed because Lord of the Rings didn't win any acting awards, but it would have won best ensemble. Clearly, it would have won best ensemble. So I will go out on a limb and say no to the casting person because that's too problematic. Who really does the casting? And then the second thing is, as far as ensemble, absolutely agree. Time to bring in best ensemble. Abel Contreras writes, "Have you ever met Siskel or Ebert? Thoughts on them?" No, I never met Siskel. I was way too young. Never met. Oh, I could have met Roger Ebert later in his life. But no, I never had the privilege. Roger Ebert's my all-time favorite film critic. And I was too young to meet either of them, so I've never met either of them. But I loved watching them. Loved watching them. Jonathan Vigoa writes, "Movies for a base to start off a Blu-ray collection." Well, I don't believe that you should have a Blu-ray collection. Physical media is dead. Start collecting your movies on Google Play or on, what are other places? Movies Anywhere or whatever. Get your movies digitally and keep them digitally. Now, and which movies should you start off with? Well, look, everybody's going to give you a different answer depending on what's their favorite. Me, start with 2 franchises. Star Wars, the original trilogy, and The Lord of the Rings. Start with those 2, and you're off to the races, my friend. Eric Saul writes, "Hey, John. Heard a clip of Joaquin Phoenix laugh as the Joker, and sounds like a mixture between Romero's and Hamill's. I have not heard it, but I cannot wait." You know what? I should really save this for later. Oh, a second. Joaquin Phoenix Joker laugh. See if I can find it here. There's nothing recent. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so I haven't heard it myself, but I'd be very excited to hear it, and I hope it's exactly, Eric. I hope it is exactly. By the way, I see you got Joaquin Phoenix's Joker as your avatar. I hope it is exactly as you describe it, a cross between Romero's and Hamill's. That would be pretty cool. I can't wait to hear that. Edgar Navarro writes, "I love open mics. I sit in my room in my Iron Spider suit with my spider arms extended, holding ketchup and eggs as I mumble family." Haha, great show. Thank you so much, Edgar. And thank you for watching Open Mic, by the way. And I don't know, man. You people who put ketchup on your eggs. Society's gone to hell, my friends. Society's gone to hell. All right. Hector Jeter writes, "2 shows I'd like to recommend on Netflix. Sex Education." By the way, Rob has been watching that. Robert Meyer Burnett's been watching that, and he's been telling me I need to check it out. And he's pretty much gotten me worn down on it. I think I will have to check it out because I'm hearing great things about it, and you're just the latest person to mention it, Hector. Sex Education, Damn Scully, and Atypical. I've never seen Atypical. Frankly, I've never heard anybody even talk about Atypical. I've seen some billboards for it around town. I know what the show is, but I've never had anybody see. Unlike Sex Education, which I have tons of people telling me I should watch, I haven't heard anybody tell me about Atypical. It's about a teenage boy with autism wanting to find a girlfriend. Well, sounds interesting. I definitely need to check out Sex Education. I'll see if more people tell me about Atypical, but you put it on my radar, Hector. All right, let's move on here. Gerald Quintana writes, Cain Velasquez versus Francis Ngannou, who you got? Somebody asked me that the other day. Look, there was a time when it looked like Cain Velasquez was simply going to be unbeatable in the heavyweight division. But the dude has been plagued with injury after injury after injury. And I simply don't know what Cain Velasquez is going to be getting into that ring tonight. The Cain Velasquez in his prime or the broken down Cain Velasquez? Because I'll tell you what, if the Cain Velasquez, if the apex Cain Velasquez gets into that ring tonight, he will smother Ngannou. He will smother him. If not, it's going to be lights out pretty quick. So I know that sounds like a cop-out, but I simply can't I can't predict. I don't know it's been a while since we've really seen Cain fight, so I'm going to be watching with great interest. Levi Road writes, just watched Ghost of Girlfriend's Past for the first time in years and forgot how stunning Jennifer Garner is. That's the one with McConaughey, wasn't it? Isn't that with McConaughey and Jennifer Garner? Dude, how can you forget how stunning Jennifer Garner, I believe, is one of the most beautiful creatures to walk the face of the earth. Jen, I know you probably watch my show every day. Of course, everybody watches my show. So Jennifer Garner, I'm sure, is watching this right now. Trust me when I tell you, Ann has given me a hall pass to have dinner with Jennifer Garner, as I've given Ann a hall pass for having dinner with Justin Timberlake. So if you're watching, call me. It would be the biggest mistake of your life, but call me anyway. Okay. You're damn right. All kidding aside, Jennifer Garner is like stunning and she's super talented and she's funny on screen. She can do comedy and drama. And what we saw in Peppermint is, damn, this girl can do action, which we all knew from Alias anyway. Super amazing. My longest term celebrity crush is Jennifer Garner. All right. Spencer Main writes, John, you passed some questions at the beginning. I think I got all of them. Let me just take a quick jump to the top here. Endgaming Trouble. Hey, John, performance. Ray Winstone, Academy Cade. What's up with Cinemia recast? Is it legal to say this? I saw a screening. Saw Lita last night. Way Feel by Man of Steel. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, John, having a great day. I got that. Blah, blah. I know there was a brief moment there that I missed a couple, but I think I then got back on track. Okay. So let's get back into it here. Cain Velasquez, Gross Girlfriend's Past. Here we go. Okay. Hector Jeter writes, member of A-List since day one, and I just love it. When I saw Alita in Dolby 3D, it was going to be $18.75. That's pretty much my month for A-List. Dude, AMC A-List is simply the best thing to happen to movie fans. It is simply the best thing to happen to movie fans. Because I'll tell you what, I don't know where you live, Hector, but Dolby 3D where I am, $23 for a ticket. $23 for a ticket. That's where Dolby 3D is where I live. All right? So it is even more ridiculous of a good deal that I see one movie a month, it totally is already paid for itself. It's already paid for itself, seeing one movie. It's such a great deal. I firmly believe the best thing that's ever happened to film fans. I cannot wait to see what type of film club program that Regal comes out with. I'm very, very curious to see what kind of film club. Cinemark's got a really nice little movie club as well. Very anxious to see what Regal comes up with. All right. Gabe Schembarger writes, Jay Olivier also says the Snyder Cut exists. Well, yeah, I know it doesn't. That's the thing. I know it doesn't. So, no, it doesn't exist. Precision writes, since Bob Iger said there is room for R-rated material in the future at Disney, does this mean the Marvel Netflix shows we know and love can return? I don't think so, no. Because, again, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, Precision, but from my understanding, what the plan is, and I don't, good, this may be true and it may not be true. Okay. So I'm not proclaiming any factual truth here. The way I see it shaking out, and from some of the things I've heard that may or may not be true, is that they're going to kill those things and relaunch those characters and reboot the characters with new actors into the MCU for some and other things to others. But I don't think it's going to happen. But can it happen? Sure. Anything's within the realm of possibility, depending on the legal arrangement between Marvel and Netflix and who owns what. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm not putting any money on that, though. It could very well go the other way. We'll have to wait and see. Randy just sends a super chat. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate that, man. Jeffrey Taylor writes, saw Get Out finally. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait for Peele's next film, Us. I'm very excited about Us. I really enjoyed Get Out. I mean, way more than I thought I would. But Us, you know, it's a trailer that's grown on me more. Because I liked the trailer when I first saw it. I liked the Us trailer when I first saw it. But there were people online like losing their minds. Like it was the greatest trailer they've ever seen. I thought, what? I mean, it's a good trailer. It's not that good. I still don't think it's like the greatest trailer ever, but I must admit, the more I've watched the trailer, it's grown on me more. And Us is certainly high on my anticipation list for this year. And it'll be really neat to see if Jordan Peele can follow up the great work he did in Get Out. Do we see some evolution of him as a director? Can he go one step further? Or was Get Out simply a fluke? If the trailer's any indication, I don't think it was a fluke, but we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to find out pretty soon. All right. Sempaigar writes, there are many action films that people like primarily for the action. Why is that a bad thing? Dredd wasn't a great story, but was fun to watch. But Dredd wasn't a bad story. Dredd wasn't a bad story. Dredd didn't have bad performances. And see, here's the thing, Sempaigar. Well, it's a bad thing because it's a bad thing. A bad thing is a bad thing. Look, you can have an action movie, and like I said earlier, you can have it be so good, the action and the visuals and all that kind of stuff can be so good and so enjoyable that it outweighs the negative, yes, but it still prevents it from being as good as it could be, right? It prevents it from being as good as it could be. Narrative matters. Story matters. Characters matter. Now, you can still have a movie, again, that's so good in certain areas, it outweighs the other things and makes it enjoyable. But then you'll still leave a little bit of a taste in your mouth going, oh, imagine how good this movie would have been if they had good story and had good acting and had good character development. Imagine how good it could have been then, because as we've seen today, a lot of people are saying, it's not all that great. A bunch of people saying they really enjoyed it, but we've had a few people say, because the story was so weak and blah, blah, blah. Now, again, I'm speaking in the dark here because I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going to go see it to myself. I do just find it kind of telling that even people who love the movie are saying, yeah, but the story's not so good. You know? But certainly, as I've said, the action and adventure and the visual effects can be so good that at least makes you walk out of the theater going, hey, yeah, it had us all this bad stuff, but the good outweighed the bad, still good. But even if I come out of that movie going, yeah, the good totally outweighed the bad, it's a good movie, I'll still feel a little bitterness in my mouth, about the fact that, oh God, imagine how good this movie would have been if it did have a great story. And if it did have great character development. Right? So yeah, it can still be fun and still be enjoyable and still be a good movie. But you're limited by how good it can be if you lack a lot of the other elements, right? You might still cross that line from bad to good, but you'll be limited by how high you can go if you're being weighed down by lack of good character development, lack of good narrative, lack of good story structure, all that kind of stuff. So it can still be good. It just won't be as good as it could have been because story matters. So, who knows? I might come out of it going, thinking it's the greatest film ever. I may come out of Alita Battle Angel thing is the best film I've ever seen, right? Who knows? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just a little nervous in some things. That's all. All right. Holland Love writes, aside from like pop / hot toy type figures, is there anything else you collect? I collect watches, for example. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hashtag justice for Han. Get that out of here, Holland. Anyway, anything else that I really collect? No, I think like most Canadian kids, I was an avid hockey card collector. I collected hockey cards like crazy. I collected Transformers when I was a kid. Had almost all of them. But really anything else that I collect? Not really. There was a period of time that I used to like collecting old theology books. I know that sounds weird, but I used to love collecting antique theology books. Whatever. Not a lot of other stuff that I definitively collect, like coins or watches or certain types of memorabilia. I'm not really a collector per se. Like, I don't even have, like, we talk about hot toys a lot because I appreciate hot toys, but I only have a couple of hot toys. Hot toys are expensive. I only have a couple of them. I have a whole bunch of Pops because I think they're great food for the imagination. I love Pops because I find them to be great food for the imagination. I look at Pops and the different characters and I feel inspired. So, but I don't even know, and I have a lot of Pops. I don't even know that I consider myself a Pop collector though. It's kind of weird. But no, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Rob is a different story. Rob collects a bunch of different things, and maybe sometime he'll talk about that on the show. Good question, though, Holland. And that's pretty cool. Collect watches. See, that's a man thing to do. That's a more mature man thing to do. Good on you, Holland, for collecting watches. I find that fascinating, but I'm guessing also probably pretty expensive too. Brandon Entwistle writes, too many ads before movies. 25 minutes where I live. Yeah, it's. Look, I like. Two things. There should never be commercials before movies. Trailers, fine. Not commercials. If you play a commercial on a movie screen before the advertised start time, that's fine. Like if my movie ticket says Alita Battle Angel starts at 7 o'clock and I go into the theater at 6:50 and from 6:50 to 7 you show commercials, that's fine. It's before the start of the movie. It's before the ticket says the movie starts, fine. But once 7 o'clock hits, there should not be any commercials. Trailers, fine, because trailers are kind of part of the movie-going experience. But even then, you gotta limit. They just keep putting more and more. At some point, it's like, there's been many times when Ann and I will be in a theater, and like they're on their 6th trailer or something, and then Ann and I will look at each other and go, wait, which movie are we here to watch again? Because we've just forgotten. It's like been 20 minutes, 25 minutes. That's why, one of the reasons why I love the fact that most theaters today you can get pre-assigned seats. So when my movie ticket says movie starts at 7, I know better. I don't have to walk in there till 20 after 7. And I've got my reserved seat, so I don't have to worry about not finding a seat. That's one of the reasons why I love reserved seating so much. Okay. Suthius85 writes, Mr. Campea, it saddens me when I go into a Facebook post regarding film, music, food, art, etc. I see so much negativity. Someone's comment can be the most positive one, yet they'd still get blasted by other people's negativity. Well, there's a line, Suthius. There's a line. I think if you go in somewhere and say, I love X, you have to be prepared that part of fandom is not liking something, so you may get a bunch of people saying, I hate X. Personally, I don't find that negativity. As film fans, we love certain things and we hate certain things. There are movies you hate. Does that mean you're a negative person? No, it just means there are movies you watched and did not work for you and you hated the movie. I don't consider that negativity. I just consider that being a film fan. It's just a part of being a film fan. There are films you love, there are films you hate. But there's a line. There's a line. And you shouldn't try to discourage people from expressing the fact that they did not like something. If you didn't like something, you didn't like something. I talk about movies I don't like all the time, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you're being negative. You just, hey, I hated that movie, and here's why. I'll talk all day about why I hated Assassin's Creed. I thought Assassin's Creed was terrible, right? I'll talk about that. But there's a line, and that line gets crossed when, like, you go into it. So you don't expect to go in and say, and only hear everybody say, "We love everything." Never expect that. Part of fandom is the lack of appreciation for something, and that's not necessarily negative. The line, though, gets crossed when those conversations, be they in YouTube comment sections, on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever. The line gets crossed when it goes from simply going, "I did not like this movie," or "I hated that particular TV show," or "I hate that song," which is all fair. That's fair. When it crosses from that to outright attacking individuals who made the movies, or attacking individuals who say they liked it just because you didn't. Now, let's say Michael Fassbender is in, I'm just going to use Assassin's Creed as an example here. Michael Fassbender's in that, and not only was the movie I thought terrible, I thought he gave a bad performance. And I will say, as a film fan, I did not think his performance was good. I thought he gave one of his worst performances in his career in that movie. All right? But I'm not going to call Michael Fassbender an asshole, and I hope his kid dies so he's too depressed to make more movies, and he should do this, and he should do this, and he ruined Assassin's Creed, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not, that's a line that gets crossed. That's a line that gets crossed. And what is even more disappointing, I think, is not just that there are people who act that way, but that there are, like, YouTube channels and websites that encourage people and defend people to act that way. That's the more disappointing thing. It's disappointing that, yes, and let's face it, we all do it. We all have done it at some point, right? We all have. Hopefully we catch ourselves and go, I shouldn't act like that. Like, okay, look, the movie sucked, all right? But I don't wish any harm on the guy, and I don't think the guy who did it should shoot himself in the face, and I don't think, But what's even more disappointing than that is the fact that there are harbors for that don't only defend abuse, they encourage abuse. They don't only defend abuse, there are places and channels that encourage people to abuse filmmakers and anybody else out there who likes what we don't like. There are places that encourage that. And look, I've gone on record, I've said it many times. It is just as wrong to attack somebody for not liking something that you do as it is for attacking people who like something that you don't. It's neither is worse than the other. They're both bad, but one is a little bit more high profile. And yeah, again, Suthius, I completely agree. It is depressing to see that. But remember, not just saying that you didn't like something and it didn't work for you and expressing why. That's not necessarily negativity. That's part of being a film fan. That's part of being a film fan. But it's that line that gets crossed. When you start getting into the most extreme example, death threats, death wishing, racist, homophobic, misogynistic comments, just personal attacks. Comments made specifically that I'm going to type this comment in the hopes that it hurts that person. See, once you get into that, I would suggest to somebody, if you find yourself typing a comment, a tweet, or whatever, and your goal is to be hurtful, your goal, your purpose for doing it is to try to hurt somebody, that's not being a film fan anymore. I can say, as a matter of evaluation, I did not think Michael Fassbender gave a good performance in Assassin's Creed. I do not write that to hurt Michael Fassbender. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but as a film fan, I paid to go see this movie. Here's my thoughts on the movie and what I thought about it. That's totally fair. Totally fair. But once, and I know I'm going on this for a while, guys, but I think this is important. I think this is important stuff for film fandom. Once, whichever side you're on, you start going after somebody simply because they liked something you didn't, or simply because they didn't like something you did, or simply because they made a movie that you didn't like, we have crossed a line once it becomes clear that somebody is typing, or you yourself are typing somebody, and your purpose, your goal is, I want to hurt that person. I want to hurt them. Then you're a dick. Then you're a dick. And let's face it, we've all done it, and we've all been dicks sometimes. This guy included. But again, even more discouraging to me, even more disappointing to me, is not only are there, because it's fine, there are websites and YouTube channels that like this and don't like that, and that's all fair. But there are those few out there that defend. There's nothing wrong with being hurtful, and encourage people to go and abuse filmmakers, to go and abuse and be hurtful to fans who don't share their opinion. There are people who defend it and people who encourage it. And somebody reminded me of that. One of the viewers, Rodrigo, sent me this graphic they made, and it's true. It said, like, people, there are sites and YouTube channels that encourage and defend abusive behavior, and that's disappointing. It's disappointing. And if that's what makes them happy, God bless. Keep doing what you do. But yeah, I just think there's a line, and I've said it 18 times, and I'll say it the 19th time. I don't care. I just think there's a line that gets crossed that none of us should encourage or defend when you get online and purposefully do something that it's, by its very motivation and intention, is designed to be hurtful. Then you shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't defend somebody doing it, and you shouldn't encourage other people to do it just because you liked a movie or just because you didn't. Just my thought, and Suthius. But anyway, thanks for bringing that up, and I need to move on now. So, okay. Jacob Bartley writes, how would you deal with trying to podcast/record videos with roommates and needing the house to be quiet? Makes it hard to plan schedule shows. I mean, look, I've never been in a situation where that's been a problem. I mean, look, honestly, one of the reasons earlier this year, Ann and I moved one block. We moved one block because we moved into a bigger place. And one of the reasons we moved in the bigger place is I needed more space for my studio. Not only did I need more space for my studio, I needed more space between me and wherever Ann was going to be watching television or doing things that she wants to do and needs to do. It's tough. There are a couple things I would suggest. Number one, locate the place in the house that is furthest away from the core of activity. Number two, do a little bit of soundproofing in your room. Things from, I don't have my webcam connected, but I have hung along my walls just sound absorbing curtains that you can buy from like Bed Bath & Beyond or stuff like that. There are sound absorbing curtains you can get, and I simply hang them against the walls. It cuts down echo in the room, but it also soundproofs the room a little bit. Third, get a very directional microphone. One of the reasons I got this particular microphone, this is the Rode Podcaster. It's a USB mic. They have XLR versions called Rode Procasters. This is the Rode Podcaster. It's not a cheap mic. It's about $250 to $300. But one of the great things about it is it rejects most of the noise around. It rejects most of the noise. Like, for instance, I have a fan on right now. I have a fan right here. There's a fan. You can barely hear it. So if I bring it over, it's getting caught on my speaker. If I bring it over here, there's the fan, right? As soon as it's not right in front of it, though, and I just put it down right here, you can barely hear it, right? So, yeah, be as far away as you can, soundproofing curtains that won't do a ton, but it'll do a little. And most importantly, get a microphone that read some reviews that are really, really good at only capturing the audio that is right in front of it. If you do that, it should help with your productions. Anyway, let's see. Senpaigar writes, Bad Times at the El Royale was a strange movie. Oh, no doubt. I was oddly intoxicated with it. I liked it, but a strange film? Absolutely. It was very much a Quentin Tarantino style film. Like, it really did have a Quentin Tarantino style of film making to it. And it's a strange little film. I got to tell you, though, I quite enjoyed it, especially Jeff Bridges. I especially like Jeff Bridges in it, but you are absolutely right, man. It's a strange little film. And I could see why people wouldn't like it, but it worked for me. Synced Up writes, apparently Tom Holland is here in Anniston, Alabama, filming a new Netflix show. So excited. I don't know anything about that, but that is pretty cool. Where did you read about that? Maybe I heard about it, but off the top of my head, I don't remember what Tom Holland is involved with Netflix. I haven't heard about that. If any of you guys know, email me a link. Just email me a link with a subject line like Tom Holland Netflix show or something, and a link to any information that's about that, because I don't know off the top of my head. And of course, you can email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. All right. Just Plain Steve writes, did Anne, no E on Anne, guys, no E. Did Anne get to go to Toy Fair? No, Anne didn't go to Toy Fair. Thank goodness. Anne did not go to Toy Fair. Thank goodness. She has to go away far too often. All right. B.W. Rosas writes, Hasbro announced at New York Toy Fair 4 new movies, those being G.I. Joe and Micronauts in 2020 and Dungeons & Dragons and My Little Pony in 2021. Thoughts? I cannot comment because I have not read that. When did that come out? Hold on a second. Hasbro, G.I. Joe. Let me just see here. Let me look under the news. Okay, so apparently this news just came out like a couple of hours ago. So I can't comment because I haven't started this. I've known this, though, for a while, that Hasbro was going to be moving more into movies. And I knew Dungeons & Dragons is high on their priority list. And I knew G.I. Joe was something they were looking at. And My Little Pony is always a big thing on their list. And we've heard for a while that a Micronauts thing was in development. But I haven't read the official announcement yet. I didn't know the official announcement was coming out today. So yeah, I have to save my kind of response to that until I read it more, and then maybe we'll talk more about it on the John Campea Show tomorrow. But thanks for bringing that up, BW Rosa. All right. Van Sensei writes, will there be a Trudeau biopic, Justin or Pierre? Oh, you'd have to do it on Pierre. You'd have to do it on Pierre Trudeau, because that dude was a freaking rebel rock star. And the stuff he did, it was the stuff of legend. The way he pulled some deals and pulled some things, his political enemies didn't like it, but he was a baller. And his kid Justin's very popular with the Canadian people, but Pierre was a baller. Absolute baller. I don't know if there will be. I'd be surprised if there wasn't already some Canadian production of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, to be honest with you. Ben Rayner writes, I'm guessing you mean over under. 25% Dominic M. from Lost has a meaty role in episode 9 rather than just a cameo. I don't know. Hard to say. Because, look, we already saw J.J. Abrams put actors that he's worked with before in a Star Wars movie, and they ended up being pretty small roles. How will that happen with Dominic Monaghan? 25% is a good low number. You know what? I'll even take under. I don't think it's going to be a big, meaty role. I think it'll be a small role at best. Who knows? But I'll take the under 25% on that. Interesting question. All right. Alex Perez writes, the scene where the henchmen come out of the present in Batman Returns scared me as a kid, but I felt safe when Batman arrived. And that's the idea of it, right? Now, when Batman's on screen, we feel the hero has arrived. And there's something about that. And I think some of the Marvel films get that today, too. When the hero arrives, everything's going to be okay. And maybe some films actually use that notion or that motif a little bit too much. Maybe we as an audience shouldn't feel safe all that often, even if the hero's there. But there was something about that era of filmmaking that really did do that. When Superman got there, everything was going to be okay. When Batman got there, everything's going to be okay. And yeah, there was something to that. So yeah, it's interesting that you point that out, Alex. All right. Joe Clem 15 writes, will Chucky's new origin story take away from the mythology of the FNAF, don't know what that is, movie, or will we embrace the new animatronics era? I've asked you guys many times, please don't use acronyms. Please use actual words so I know what we're talking about. Anyway, I can't answer it. Look, all I know is this. I like the new trailer for Chucky. I like the new trailer, the new Child's Play. I like the new Child's Play trailer. I think it's intriguing. I think it's an interesting departure from the original mythology. And so that much I can say. Pedro Augusto Marquez writes, Vader versus Yoda, Vader versus Yoda, Dominic Toretto wins. Truer words were never spoken, Pedro. Truer words were never spoken. All right, Guitar Dude 513 writes, got a little red-eyed seeing the end of shooting photos for episode 9. Love the energy Ridley, Boyega, Isaac, and Driver have brought to franchise. I like them very much too. I still don't think the new movies compare to the original trilogy. Like the original trilogy to me are still galaxies and light years beyond the new films, but I love The Force Awakens. I love The Force Awakens. That movie's great. I like The Last Jedi, but there's many things about The Last Jedi that I don't dig. And I can't say that I love that film, but I like it. I like The Last Jedi, mostly because I really did appreciate what they did with Luke. A lot of other stuff I didn't appreciate so much, but whatever. I'm really hoping they can finish on a real strong note. I want them to be able to finish with episode 9, making me feel the way I felt watching episode 7, you know? And if they can do that, mission accomplished. But I really like Daisy Ridley. I like John Boyega. I love Oscar Isaac. And I've become a big fan of Adam Driver as well. So, we've only got, 9 more months to go? 10 more months to go? 10 more months to go till we can finally see Star Wars Episode 9. It's going to be a long 10 months, man. It's going to be a long 10 months. Guitar Dude follows up with, Kylo's probably dead too since Driver wasn't in photo. Well, that doesn't mean anything. That means nothing at all. Because, look, a lot of times these people shoot their scenes. By the way, most of the time, movies don't shoot in order. There are some movies that will shoot, day 1, they're shooting the final scene of the movie. Day 2, they're shooting something from scene 5. Day 3, they're shooting something from act 2 in the second half. I mean, it's all shot out of order. You shoot on different days. You have to coordinate with actors' schedules, blah, 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 blah. Somebody being in that picture or not being there that day doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Like, look, a lot of us suspect that Kylo Ren dies in this movie, but don't think that his absence from being in a picture right now necessarily tells us one way or the other that he is or is not alive by the end of the movie, because he just may not have been there because his stuff and his scenes were already shot or all that kind of stuff, right? So I wouldn't give any more thought. I wouldn't worry about thinking about that. All right. Alejandro Ortegon writes, like you, I also hated 3D. Went to see Alita, but was only playing in IMAX 3D. It looked awesome. Now I think 3D, if done right, can enhance a movie. I've never felt that. I've seen movies that I thought 3D worked okay. Beowulf. Not the best movie, but Paul, oh God, what's the guy's name? Paul Bettany, the guy who plays Vision. Paul Bettany's movie Priest, great, very good use of 3D in that movie. Not the best movie, but very good use of 3D. Avatar, clearly, but I have never felt that 3D enhanced a movie. I've never felt that, ever. I thought it for a minute when I first saw Avatar, because the first time I saw Avatar was in 3D. But then once I watched it in regular 2D, I'm like, oh, this 2D experience was just as good as the 3D experience. It didn't add anything for me. But that's just my opinion. That's just how I approach it. Alejandro follows up with, I really liked Alita. Besides the action and visuals, I also really like the world building and the relationship between Alita and Dr. Ido, Christoph Waltz. That was the big thing. Other than James Cameron's Alita Battle Angel is finally getting made, which is exciting on its own. The thing that really gets me was Christoph Waltz, two-time Academy Award winner Christoph Waltz. Love that dude. He's not always in the best movies, Big Eyes. He's not always in the best movies, but the dude brings it. I just love watching this guy on screen, and I am very curious to see how he does in this movie. All right. Kyle Beckworth writes, I enjoyed the story in Alita. Waltz is great too. Not a lot of people talk about, you're the first person, Kyle, very first person I've heard say, I enjoyed the story in Alita, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad to hear Christoph Waltz is good too. Ben Rayner writes, would you consider adding Robert to the Facebook group? Oh, as soon as Robert's ready to join it, I'll add him, but he hasn't had time to get onto it yet. So Robert will be on the Facebook group whenever Robert wants to be on the Facebook group. All right. Mike Hill writes, I hope DC brings back Superman and Batman at some point. A cinematic universe without them just isn't the same to me. Yeah, but look, I agree, Mike. You and I are on the same page there. But what people like you and me need to keep in mind is this. Can we blame DC for moving away from them? People haven't exactly reacted great to, despite how magnificent Man of Steel is, people haven't exactly responded great to them. Yeah, they did Justice League with them at the forefront and didn't get great results. Despite the fact that it still made $800+ million, Batman vs. Superman, not exactly a win for DC when you get through all the controversy and how divisive the film was and all that kind of nonsense. Not a big win. Made money. Not a big win. Kind of the same thing you can say about Star Wars The Last Jedi. You know, made tons of money. But ultimately, was it a big win? That's too divisive. Too divisive to be considered a bid win. It made a hell of a lot more money than Justice League, but still, Justice League made money. But was it a big win? No, it wasn't. It actually ended up, being divisive, caused some damage. So while you and I, Mike, are in complete agreement, I want Henry Cavill's Superman, I want Ben Affleck's Batman, can we stand back and go, it's completely ludicrous to move on without them then? Well, if you really look at the circumstances, it's not the craziest thing for them. Now, it's not what I would do. It's not what you would do. But even though it's not what I would do, I can at least acknowledge that it's not the craziest thing in the world to think maybe we need to move in a different direction for a while. It's not what I would do. But I could see why they would think that way and why their thought process would go that way. But I certainly would rather have a DCEU with Henry Cavill as Superman, but we'll see what happens. All right, Samuel Philippe writes, I think Joker has potential to be an amazing movie. Oh, absolutely. When you look at the filmmakers involved, the producers behind the camera, when you're talking about having one of the greatest actors of our generation, Joaquin Phoenix, being in there as well, not to mention a Zazie Beetz and a great supporting cast, and one of the great all-time comic characters, Joker. Absolutely, the potential is there to be amazing. Does that guarantee it will be amazing? No, absolutely not. But absolutely, the potential is there to be amazing. All right. Madeline Pontho writes, are you excited for Captain Marvel and will it flop? Well, I'm excited for it because it's an MCU movie. I'm excited for it. Brie Larson is one of the most powerhouse actresses on the planet. She's an Academy Award winner. It's Kevin Feige. So yes, I'm excited. Does that mean the movie's going to be good? No, never is. I mean, I say that going into Endgame as well. Look, there's no guarantee Endgame will be great. I assume it'll be great. There's a lot of evidence there to suggest it'll be great. There's a lot of evidence there to suggest that Captain Marvel will be great, but it may not. Will it flop? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is no way this movie makes less than 400 million. And that's what it has to make or less. The first number of that movie has to start with a 3 in order to even begin to consider calling it a flop. Once it gets into 500 million, that discussion's gone. You can't have this. So will it flop? No. Will it be a huge blockbuster? Well, you can't say yes to that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows? But I have extreme high doubt that it will be a flop. This will be, I can't foresee this not making money. It's going to make money. And any film that makes money is not a flop. All right. Shane Cutshaw writes, John, I also play Unreal Tournament, UT2K4. I love Unreal Tournament. Is my favorite video game of all time. It's up there for me. I mean, World of Warcraft is up there. StarCraft 2, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter is also way up there. The old Lucasfilm game, Day of the Tentacle. A lot of you guys never even heard of that. It's an old game, but I used to love Day of the Tentacle. But yeah, I love Unreal Tournament. I was 13 years old when I started playing, and I'm still playing with the same group of people, and I started with nearly 15 years ago. Dude, and it's not just a great game, but the Unreal Engine. Because didn't like the Doom game that came after that, wasn't that based on, not the original Doom, but I think the Doom game that came out after that was like based on the Unreal Engine too. The Unreal Engine became a real popular thing in game for a while. A lot of games came out utilizing the Unreal Engine. And I love Unreal. I still play it from time to time. I still crack it open, play Unreal Tournament from time to time. I have a great time with it. And yeah, man, back in the day, I used to play so much of that game. That, and there was a little first-person shooter that nobody talks about anymore. But there was a little first-person shooter called Heretic. And that game was great. And one of the weapons you can get in that game was a little wand, and when you used it, you turned your enemy into a chicken. And once they turned into a chicken, all you had to do was hit them one more time to kill them. But it was a great little thing. I loved Heretic, loved Unreal. So many memories playing that game, Shane. And of course, the influence of Unreal came. And one of the true great founding, not the original first-person shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the founding games of the first-person shooter revolution. And I love that game so much. I'm so glad you brought that up, Shane. Thank you for that. Pedro Ordonez writes, just watch Sorry to Bother You and Dear God Bad. Thank you, Pedro. I hate that movie. Hate it. I was so excited for that movie. So excited. Lakeith Stanfield's in there. I love him. I thought the trailers looked really funny and entertaining. That was a very deceptive ad campaign. Because that movie was nothing like the trailers. Now, granted, to be fair, I'm not quite sure how you advertise that movie. I'm not quite sure how you advertise that movie without giving too much away. But yeah, I did not enjoy the film. I thought the film was quite a mess. It did not work for me at all. I thought it was quite bad. And I know there's a lot of people who loved it. And I'm like, really? All film's subjective. And if you loved it, great. More power to you. I thought it was terrible. One of my worst films of the year. And there are some people who put it in like their top 10 as like, well, that's movies for you. That's art. But yeah, to me, it was one of the worst. To me, it was absolutely one of the worst. All right. Let's see. BW Rosas writes, have you seen Stan and Ollie bio movie yet? Thoughts? No, but I mean, I've wanted to see it, particularly with John C. Reilly in a dramatic role like that. I've been wanting to see it ever since the trailer first dropped. Can you tell my throat is almost gone, guys? Really intriguing trailer. I still want to sit down and watch it sometime. I've heard mixed things about it, but I'm still very intrigued to watch it. I just got to get the time to sit down and watch it at some point. Roman Bryant writes, you're the writer, Michael Myers versus Kingpin. Ooh. Well, okay. Non-supernatural element to it, Kingpin. I'm the writer. It's up to me. Kingpin wins. I think there are certain people you can put up against Mike Myers that beat Mike Myers. He's not But it depends if you want to bring in, like, there are some incarnations of the Halloween thing that there's a supernatural element to it as well. Even in this most recent, the newest Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis, which was really good, by the way, even that introduced some elements of supernatural stuff in it. But barring that, I'm the writer. Kingpin wins that fight. Okay. Goku on DBZ writes, just saw Coco for the first time. Oh! And I'll tell you what, every once in a while, Pixar will put out a movie, or they'll have a movie coming out that I'll look at and go, really? WALL-E was one of those for me. I looked at it and went, really? Up looked ridiculous to me. And I looked at it and went, really? And Coco was one of those films like, okay, really? A boy with his guitar in the Day of the Dead. Really? Oh, it's so good. Coco is so good. I might even rank Coco on my Pixar list above WALL-E. I have to think about that. Don't hold me to that. I may waver on that a little bit. But I'll tell you what. I mean, Coco is so freaking amazing. It's heartfelt, emotional. Multiple times in that movie, you'll get teary. So glad you watched it. Such a good movie. Okay. Swedish WB writes, heard a while back you prefer Die Hard 3 over Die Hard. I do. Die Hard is my favorite movie of all time. Third still places in my top 20. Don't mind your choice. Yeah, and look, and I'm never going to argue with anybody about that. Like, I totally get it if you prefer the first Die Hard, but there is something about the dynamic between Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis. Their dynamic as McClane and Zeus are, and Jesus. Zeus. What'd you call me? Jesus. Do I look Mexican to you? It's Zeus, as in lightning bolt. And the dynamic between Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson is one of my favorite in any kind of like a buddy cop, even though it's not literally a buddy cop movie, but it's one of my favorite dynamics in movies. It was great. And you had the great Jeremy Irons come in as Hans Gruber's brother. Good Lord. He's so good in it. I love that movie. But again, I'll never argue with anybody that you're wrong. The third one's better than the first. I'm never going to do that. But I got to admit, if I've got the Die Hard movies in front of me and I can pick one to watch right now, I'm watching Die Hard 3. All right. Krieger119 writes, played Apex Legends yet? It's dope. Free too. I was just pointing out right here. You can't see it. I'm pointing on my monitor to my Apex Legends launch click there. The shortcut. I talked about it in the first hour of this show. I've been playing a little bit of Apex Legends the last couple of days, and I truly, painfully, disturbingly, almost supernaturally suck at that game. Oh, God, I'm bad. I've played about 6 or 7 games now, not a single kill. And the only stat I have is that I've caused some damage. It'll show you how much points of damage you've caused people. I've caused some damage. I've landed a couple of shots. But oh God, I'm bad. I might stream myself playing it just so you guys can get a good laugh and see how truly bad I am at the game. But it looks gorgeous. The game is absolutely beautiful. All right. Bullet1510 writes, at this point, why would Marvel want to be associated with the ongoing train wreck that is the 2019 Oscars? Well, because it's the Oscars. And it's on ABC, which is owned by Disney, which owns Marvel. Why would Marvel want to be associated with it? Because Disney's going to tell them to be associated with it. Just that simple. It's just that simple. Mike Thompson writes, I was writing a small movie script a few years ago and promised my friend a lead role, but she was murdered by her boyfriend before I got to... Jeez, that got dark awfully fast. I lost the motivation to go back to it afterwards. Well, good God. I mean, I don't know if you're being serious. I simply don't know if you're quoting a movie. So since I don't know, I'm just going to operate on the assumption that you're being serious. That's horrible. That's horrible. I mean, I don't know what to say to that, Mike. I don't know if you're joking. I don't know if you're just quoting a movie, but that's horrible, and deepest condolences. And I don't know that I'd be able to go back and write. I think I would be starting from scratch and doing something completely new again. But that's terrible. And if you're being serious, my deepest condolences. You have to forgive me if it seems like I'm lacking a little bit of empathy, because I've had people write shocking things on there before, and I've gone like, oh my God, and I get all empathic, and then it's like, oh John, that was just a quote from a movie, and I'm like, oh, then I feel dumb. But if that's real, man, my deepest condolences, and I completely understand you feeling a lack of motivation to go back and write it again. I totally understand that. All right. Bullet 1510 writes, don't worry, John. Weta always brings the filthy. Most of the time, yeah. I still think the best visual effects company in the business is ILM. They're still the best. And the most, I know a lot of people in the VFX world, they still seem to be the gold standard, but man, Weta's good. Weta's so good. KW writes, let everybody know and suckers be warned that this is the outcome when you mess with the bullhorn. I'm torn if that shaft... Actually, let me highlight this. I'm torn if that's Shaft or if that's one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, Black Dynamite. Let's see here. I think it's Black Dynamite. It is. It's Black Dynamite. Okay, there you go. It's Black Dynamite. One of the great movies. One of the great movies. Guys, if you have not seen Michael Jai White's Black Dynamite, do yourself a favor. Plan some time. I think it's on Netflix. Plan some time. Get a couple of buddies. Sit down and watch Black Dynamite. The movie is so good. It's a total play on the blaxploitation movies of the 70s and stuff like that. But does it, Michael Jai White does it with such utter perfection. It is so funny. I just love that movie. Check it out when you get a chance. All right. Stubble McShave writes, defeat Campea with logic. Ketchup with eggs is subjective. No, there's too much science. I got science. I don't know where it is, but I'm sure science exists to prove that ketchup on eggs not only tastes disgusting, it's morally wrong. It's morally wrong. Anyway, Kean Shingler writes, Mufasa, you are more than what you have become. Rocky, cowards do that, and that ain't you. Samwise, because there is good in the world worth fighting for. Which scene was most impactful for you? Well, whoo, man. The Rocky one is so good because that speech where he says, cowards do that, and that ain't you. That's the same speech that he says, life ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. I mean, that's the same speech. That's amazing. That Samwise thing, because there's good in the world that's worth fighting. That's a great speech. You're more than what you become. Man, most impactful. Not the best movie out of the bunch, but I'm going to go that Rocky speech. That speech, that moment, it's Sylvester Stallone and Milo Ventimiglia, and it's just amazing. It's really a great moment in that film, and it is a really great film, by the way. That's a great movie. Rocky Balboa is a great movie, but I'm going to go with that one. Nice question, Keen. I like that one. That was good. All right. Alex Von Gollum writes, hey there, Ola Obi. Last week I saw Man of Steel for the first time. Wow, very good movie. I loved Russell's character. He was awesome. What is your favorite line from him? Of course, Russell Crowe played Jor-El, Superman's father. Man, there's that whole speech he gives him about his destiny, that really kind of illustrated the differences in philosophies between him and his Earth adopted father, Jonathan Kent. And that whole interaction, lead them into the sun and all that kind of stuff. It's got to revolve around there. I mean, there's some really good lines too, as well, in that whole opening stuff on Krypton that he's got. There's some good stuff when he's talking to Lois. There's There's a lot of good stuff. There's some great, like, poignant lines when he's talking to Zod as the hologram, not even back on Krypton. Tough to pick one, man. It's tough to pick one, but he's great in that movie. Kyler Hodick writes, Avatar 5 comes out in 6 years and we haven't seen a trailer yet. Very good. Should we be worried? In all seriousness, what are your box office predictions for these films? It's impossible to say at this point. It's just, before a trailer even comes out, to gauge what the film's going to feel like and to gauge how the general audience and the general public is responding to it, it's just folly. It's just folly. To try to even guess what a prediction is for the box office. It's impossible to say. I got to at least have a trailer come out and start to gauge people's reactions to it to really have a guess. I will say this, though. I've said before, I don't believe it'll hit $2 billion. I don't believe it'll hit $2 billion. I mean, it's possible. Of course it's possible. But I just think they've waited too long. Avatar has fallen out of the pop culture consciousness too much. I don't think it'll be $2 billion. But even that you can't say for sure, because all we know, the first trailer comes out and everybody on the planet loses their minds, and that'll change things. So other than me saying right now that I don't think those films will hit $2 billion, that's as far as I'm willing to go right now until the first trailer comes. Let's see. Where are we at? Koa1708 writes, can Warner Brothers still use Affleck's Batman script? I think legally they can. They own it. I mean, they paid for it, so it's theirs. It's kind of like James Gunn's script for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean, they paid for it. They hired him and paid him as a writer to write that script. That script belongs to them. And if Ben Affleck wrote that script while being paid by Warner Brothers to write it, then it's theirs. They ditched his script, so I don't see why they would use it, because they ditched it. But I guess theoretically speaking, if Warner Brothers wanted to use it, I think they can. All right, Sam Speaks writes, in 2018, I graduated college with a degree in media. Thank you, John, for helping me through some long nights in the library. Much love. Also, my granddad died a month ago. I'm really sorry to hear about that, man. We always went to the movies. The last time we saw it together was Sicario 2. Now that movie will always be special to me. You know what's really neat, Sam? Well, first of all, congratulations on graduating. That is just getting to college, working through it, completing it. Huge accomplishment. Congratulations to you. That's awesome. And media studies, that's great too. And thank you for allowing me to come along for the ride and accompany you as you did that. But it is really neat. The last year or so, a number of times different viewers have written in and said, there's this friend of mine and he died recently and this was the last movie we saw. My mom and I used to go to movies and this was the last movie they saw. And we often talk about how that will make that movie special to you forever. Year and a half ago, my best friend growing up died. I've told this story many times. And I don't even remember, because, I moved away from Canada. I've been in LA a long time. I don't even remember the last movie we saw together. But I remember we saw the first Batman together. I remember that. I remember he and I went downtown Hamilton to Jackson Square. There's a little movie theater in Jackson Square. And we watched Batman. It's one of the first movies my parents let me go out and watch by myself. But at any rate, we went to go watch Batman. The original Tim Burton one. We were kids. And I mean, I'll always remember going to the theater by myself to see the first comic book movie that I remember going to the theater to watch. But when Brendan passed away, it added, obviously that extra level of significance to it, right? It added that extra level to it. And I mean, I don't even like Sicario 2 myself, but yeah, man. I mean, that movie is now forever going to hold a special place in your heart. And that's one of the great things about the movies. Movies create mutual experiences and mutual memories that we go to, right? And that's awesome. And I'm really glad that you have that memory. And I'm really glad that that's always going to be special to you now. And probably for the rest of your life now, whenever you want to think about your granddad, pop in Sicario too, you know, and that's always going to be there for you. And I think that's a really special thing. Thank you for sharing that, Sam. I really appreciate that, man. And congratulations again on graduation. All right. Murray Reich writes, I laugh so hard at how this site just runs the headline that you actually confirmed that Endgame trailer will drop at the Oscars. So sad. For those of you who don't know, we did this thing. The question came up, do we think that the Endgame trailer, the next Endgame trailer, the first big pow Endgame trailer, because we haven't had one of those yet, would air during the Oscars? And I said, well, you know, at some point I was kind of whispered to that. That got whispered to me a while ago that said, hey, as of a month ago, it was something they were talking about. And I didn't even believe it. And all I said on the show was, but you know, when I think about it, it would make sense to drop a trailer during the Oscars. I mean, ABC's doing the broadcast, which is owned by Disney. They want more eyeballs on the Oscar. And what a great place to drop your trailer. Because other than the Super Bowl, the television event that gets the most viewers every year is the Oscars. Even if the numbers have declined a bit, it's still the number one television event of the year, other than some sporting events. It makes sense. So yeah, I kind of think they will. That's all I said. And all of a sudden there's these websites that run this headline. Next Endgame trailer to run in front of Oscars, says John Campea. And it's like, wait, that is not what I said. But it is crazy that started running. But that's the state of the internet today, Murray. All right. Josh Crichton writes, did you heard the news about the Nightmare Before Christmas, possibly a sequel or live action? Why wasn't covered on the show this week? Because it's nothing. To me, it's a non-story. First of all, I'm not even a big fan of A Nightmare Before Christmas. So there's that. It's quite an older film. And as right now, it's maybe they'll do this. And quite frankly, there was no day that I didn't think there were 4 other more important things to talk about. Now, that's just me. Now, look, they come out and announce Nightmare Before Christmas going into production in late 2019 for a 2021 release. Damn right, we'll talk about that on the show. But there's a lot of stories every day that come and go about maybe some talks about possibly this happening. There's a lot of those stories that we don't cover. You know, we have 5 main topics and then we take live questions, and nobody brought it up in the live questions either. So yeah, that's why we didn't talk about it this week, because I didn't think it was important enough or more important on any particular day than the other stories we were talking about. But believe you me, once they actually make an announcement, this is happening. We're doing another Nightmare Before Christmas. That will get talked about, I assure you, Josh. It will. All right. Trey Gaming writes, Alita feels like a movie I watched called Fireworks. Visually amazing, but disappointing or just plain bad. Everything else like bad character development, among other things. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Everybody, again, this has been the theme of today's show. Everybody who's seen Alita and likes it, they're talking about the visuals and the action. Everybody who's talking about Alita that didn't like it, it's about story, character development, and all the other things, right? It feels like, and again, I'm speaking from the dark because I haven't seen the movie myself, but it feels like it's all going to be about which side weighs out more for you. Did the bad story and bad this and that stand out more to you? Or did the greatness of the action and visual effects stand out more to you? And depending on the type of viewer you are, and depending which one stood out to you the most, that will determine whether you walk out going, I didn't enjoy that, or whether you walk out going, I did enjoy that. I'm just sitting here hoping, Trey, with my fingers crossed, that when I do get into the theater and go watch that, I'll fall on that side that goes, I did enjoy it. At least that's what I'm hoping. All right. Guys, at this point, we are now at 3 hours and 23 minutes that we've been doing this show. I am going to now ask you, we're getting down to the final few questions. Please do not send in any more questions. I want to wrap up all the questions that we got, and we'll call it a day. And of course, we'll be back again tomorrow, but I just want to finish off the ones we got right now, and we'll call it a day. All right. Let's see. Randall Guzik. Did I get to the right one? Okay, yes, I am. Randall Guzik writes, which movies have the better music scores, DC or Marvel? All the DC and Marvel movies are available. For me, DC, Williams, Elfman, Zimmer, Newton, Howard, Junkie XL, Grayson Williams, simply epic. I lean towards DC. I think the Marvel films, the soundtracks for the Marvel films have gotten better. And certainly like the soundtrack, forget the songs. I mean, the actual score, the soundtrack of Black Panther is actually fantastic. fantastic. That classic Avengers theme now, Cap's theme, they've gotten better. But I believe that is one area that the DC films and the DC properties have outshone Marvel, has been in that sense of musical scores. The scoring for the DC films have been great. I mean, Man of Steel, oh my God. I, at least a couple times a week when I get into the shower in the morning, I go, I don't want to say it too loud because I don't want my Google to kick in. I go, hey Google, and my Google Home in my bathroom clicks in. I say, play What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World by Hans Zimmer. And it, bum, bum. I mean, I just listen to that like 2 or 3 times a week when I get into the shower because it's just so blood pumping and so great. And yeah, I will go with you on that, Randall. I think in that area, that's an area that I still think DC holds the edge. Marvel's getting better and they're closing the gap, but I think that's where DC holds the edge. All right. MC Flops writes, what did you think of If Beale Street Could Talk? Oh, I've talked about that many times. I love the film. And Regina King. She's great in it. It is a character-driven story. It's not sisk boom ba. It's not a lot of action. It's a character-driven story about love, it's a good movie. It's just one of those things. It's just a good story. And the performances are wonderful and it plays out great. And I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed it a lot. All right. Trade Gaming writes, my throat hurts. Sorry, guys. Trade Gaming writes, Blumhouse seems to be putting out more and more expensive movies lately. Is this a bad move on their part? Well, no. I think there's a difference between once in a while you go a little bigger. Sure, you should play with that a bit. But all their movies are super, super low budget compared to the rest of Hollywood. And I think you see some of their films a little more expensive, some of their films a little bit cheaper, some a little more expensive, some a little cheaper, but they're all in that low budget range. Like even Glass was still one of the most expensive Blumhouse movies ever, still in the low budget range. Because that was also a movie that promised a lot more box office return than their traditional little horror fare, right? So, no, I think they're good. I think as long as they still stay in that wheelhouse, I think they're good. Make an odd one that stretches their budget, then they make a couple that's even a little bit cheaper than normal, and then back and forth. And I think that's still fine, and they're making money, and it's profitable. As long as they're doing that, I think they're in pretty good, stable hands, Trey. I really do. I think they're on good ground right now. All right. Mike Thompson writes, I was serious with my super chat earlier, but on a lighter note, I tried your butter straw method at the movies the other day, and you are brilliant. Well, then again, let me assert, man, that is horrible to hear, and I totally understand. I would probably not want to finish writing that script either. I totally understand that. And I'm glad that my evangelism of the butter and straw technique is gaining traction. It's going to sweep America, ladies and gentlemen. More and more people in movie theaters are going to see them sticking their straw into the peanut butter, into the popcorn with the end on the nozzle of the butter and getting nice, good, buttery goodness on your popcorn. Let it sweep over you like the fresh Niagara Falls. Let it sweep America, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Last 2 questions of the day. Trade Gaming writes, so Lucifer has been finished filming for a while now. How long till we get a premiere date? Good question. Like, I'm not even asking for a trailer. I just want to know when's it coming out. And Netflix, it seems to me, Trey, and maybe you found this too, maybe not. It seems to me that Netflix more and more recently have been playing, they're keeping their release dates of their shows closer and closer to the vest. It strikes me that they are keeping the release dates of their shows closer and closer to the vest. And then sometimes, like Punisher, they're like, Punisher's coming out in a week. Punisher's coming out. It's like all of a sudden, it's like, why Punisher's coming out when? And I won't be surprised. I'm not predicting this, but I'm just saying, I won't be surprised if I won't be surprised if the same sort of thing happens with Lucifer. I won't be surprised if we don't hear anything and then all of a sudden we get Lucifer season 4 drops in 4 days and we'll go, whoa, what? I almost think that's what they're doing. So who knows? Have to wait and see, but I'm looking forward to it. All right, last question of the day comes to us from Alex Von Gollum, who writes, John, did you guys talk about the Ma trailer? Octavia was terrifyingly awesome. You know what? We didn't. We didn't get around to talking about it, and we probably should. It's a great trailer. I knew next to nothing about that movie, other than this movie with Octavia Spencer and Tate Taylor. Spencer and Tate Taylor was coming. A bit of a thriller twist to it called Ma. I knew that, but that's about it. I knew nothing else. Then this trailer drops. Man, that looks freaky. That looks freaky. And I am all about being down to watch that. I am all about being down to watch it. I cannot wait to watch this movie. It just looks psycho and great and cool and all this kind of stuff, all wrapped into one. And there it is. That's what it's all about. All right, guys, I saw there's a couple more things popped in. I told you guys I was cutting it off. No more after Alex. I said that. My throat's done. I can't go any further. Sorry about that, guys. So I got to cut it off there. But I did warn you guys, right? No more questions now, I said. I said that pretty clearly. I can't go anymore. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today here on Open Mic. I believe it's a new record. We went 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 31 minutes right now. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this. We will, of course, be back again tomorrow. Now, by the way, guys, I got another video I got to make later today, or at least before the weekend hits. There are still super chat questions from Friday's show. I meant to do a companion video last night, but things got out. I just, my night got filled up. I couldn't do it. I will get to that companion video for Friday's leftover questions. Will get done this weekend, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. It will get done this weekend, so that video is coming. And don't forget, we're going to have another open mic again tomorrow, so make sure you join us for that. Guys, thank you so much for being here and hanging in here with me for 3.5 hours. What a ride. But I love talking movies, and I love talking movies with you guys. So thank you so much for being here. That will do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.